But you
are the scoop.
Well, I'm half a scoop apparently. So tonight we're gonna run the complete show.
Oh, hold on.
Tonight
Hold on.
Oh no, you're looping me back in my ear.
I was getting a little bit of feedback, Willie.
What kind of evil shit are you doing to me?
All right, so tonight tonight's regular show.
Yes,
we're talking about the 2024 East Bay Winter Nationals. And there's a nice little monitor. We both look good there. There we go.
I think I got to get you beat on the hair today.
Well, Ben, let's just be honest. I don't know that there's many days you ever get beat on hair.
It's a toupee. It's a toupee.
It's not. I've felt it. It's hard as a rock.
You've never touched me.
It's not a toupee. It's hard as a rock, is what it is, and it's industrial strength. And I think it could survive, most Cat 5 hurricanes. To be honest with you,
it's been through a Cat 4. I think a Cat 5 is unrealistic, but yeah, we're talking about East Bay. So tonight, complete show. I think of East Bay. This is the 48th year. I
think they started doing it about 10 years before Volusia did, I think.
Yeah, I saw the other day. I think it's roughly somewhere. It's not a whole lot. Actually, it might even be less than that. But yeah, so East Bay, big deal. And this is the last Winter Nationals. And then, we come back in October, Bubba, for the 3 Lucas races in October. But I even dare to even speak this into existence. But damn it, you guys could have hurricanes that time of year. So what if this is it? What if this Saturday is it? What if you were watching this and you don't know if you're coming this week? What if this Saturday is the last ever super late model race there?
We don't usually have hurricanes in October. So, and I think that's later October, I think.
It is, but I had an event a few years ago at Sonoy, Georgia, with my series that we had a hurricane the second week in November. So don't tell me you guys don't have hurricanes come through here.
No, they do. They do. Now, September, August, September, that's the sweet spot. But yes, October, there has been one come through here, so that would be at that point they couldn't reschedule because they got Brownstown, then they got Pittsburgh.
Well, no, we got the Dirt Track World Championship the next week. So
no, what I'm saying is,
leading up,
with is it 7 races or 5?
It's 7 points races. It starts after Knoxville at Brownstown, and then there's 7 total points. In East Bay we have 3, but only the final night's points because the other 2 are prelims.
Right. But so I'm saying if we'd have something catastrophic like a hurricane, there's no reschedule room in there.
No, sir.
So that would just make it
goodbye, everybody.
Yeah, goodbye. I've talked to Al about buying a few things from him.
Well, I think at least you're trying to buy things. I think people are going to try to steal shit. So don't buy it from him. Don't walk out of there. I literally think Rigsby's going to try to take the flag stand. So we're going to keep an eye on him.
He is?
No, he's not. But he does tell me he has his eye on something, and he won't tell us because he knows we're going to steal it before his ass can get it.
Well,
so
poor Al needs to hire. He needs to hire more fucking security because he's going to get. If the broadcasting team, who is supposed to be upper crust, if the broadcasting team who is supposed to not represent that drunken fan and turn in the pits.
We are that drunken fan in the pits.
And you guys are already, the broadcasting team is already thinking about stealing souvenirs. Can you imagine how the guy that's fucking camping from Iowa, what's he thinking?
Well, we're thinking we're going to get it before he does. That's what we're thinking. No, we're not going to steal anything.
I told him I was interested in his double sheep's foot, and I'm interested in those bleachers in turn 2. Those aluminum bleachers in turn 2, or a lot of the crew guys said.
Make the man an offer.
And I already have. Me and Al.
How much, Bubba? How much did you offer him?
We're not going to talk about
No, you put people on the spot all the time. I came in today with an agenda. I'm going to put you on the spot. How much did you offer him?
I'm not telling you at all. you put me on the fucking spot, please. So Ben Shelton in the studio today. He is the trackside reporter for the Wiener Dogs going crazy.
I thought you called me a Wiener Dog. I was like, you bastard.
No,
okay.
He's a trackside reporter for Flow Sports and for Flow Racing in particular, the dirt division. But people don't realize how big Flow Sports is. And even while you guys are down here now, maybe that's why they scheduled the drags on top of all the other stuff, because Flo already had a huge presence in Florida, a lot of infrastructure in Florida, and did that have anything to do with the scheduling of the drags of the SCAG Pro Series shootout?
So I can't 1,000,000% speak to that, because here's a reality. I do a lot for Flo because I don't have the ability to say no. My company was bought 2.5 years ago by My Race Pass, and I'm an employee of My Race Pass. with Josh.
Did you start My Race Pass?
No, I started MSR Mafia, and My Race Pass bought it 2.5 years ago. So they bought my company. They brought me in to help them work with theirs. So yeah, everything I do with Flow, sometimes I'm the last person to know because I'm not a Flow employee.
Now, are you not involved in the MRF Mafia deal anymore?
Are we speaking the same language? We just the MRF or Michael freaking Rigsby? No, the MSR.
I'm sorry.
No, that's what I sold to My Race Pass. They bought my website company. And,
I know you had a hell of a website company going. Every racer,
I still do.
Every racer that I know, hell. If you're listening to the show and you're just like a guy, let's say you live in my hometown, Warsaw, Indiana.
That's right.
And you run, 410 non-wing. But you're not, Justin Grant, and you're not, Brady Bacon, but you dabble around, like you're Paul Hazen, the 57 guy, and you don't really know, or a lot of people, Ben, don't know how to start their own website, or more importantly, they get screwed on what, and I know your pricing and stuff, but you can get a hold of Ben's company and they will design a website for you and keep up with your weekly updates and your points. And that's what you do, right?
Yeah, I mean, I do. And I got a lot of clients in Indiana. But yeah, it's all through My Race Pass now. But all my driver sites from Ken Schrader to...
Who was your first driver?
I think my very first driver is a guy that actually owns a racetrack. Now, you can appreciate this, but his son's running for World of Outlaws rookie, Tim Crawley. I think Tim was my first driver client, and then Billy Moyer Jr. came a little bit after that. You had a guy on yesterday that was my 6th ever website client, and I still do his stuff, Turbo Tyler Erb. I've been with Tyler Erb
for him.
And, 200 and something clients later. And so, yeah, so My Race Pass, we do all these websites through them now.
Do you do websites for people that don't race?
1,000,000%. I'm working on for a demolition company this morning out of North Carolina before I came in. We do series, tracks, businesses.
Well, give me your most proud website.
Oh man!
Like if
well, you're gonna get me in trouble because
I mean the one that really pops. Like if I was to show my audience an example of your work. Not only are you a trackside reporter for Flow,
but Rocket1Racing.com for Mark Richardson, the game.
Rocket, is it one or
the number one?
Racing.com. Man, if you're doing rocket stuff,
I do. Yeah, we do their business. We do all that.
All right, here we go.
MyRacePass.com.
This is an example of what My Race. Now, so the business is now called MyRacePass.com, not MSR Mafia.
No, it's part of My Race Pass. They do the race management. They do it for your track. They do race management. They do websites, hero cards, the whole 9 yards. And I'm going to be honest, Bubba, I got up to around 200 clients, and the technology's like a race car. It kept changing. I wasn't getting any smarter. And Josh Holt and I started talking from My Race Pass, and he's like, well, we got great developers. We need somebody that goes to these races. I was like, well, God knows I'm not smart enough not to go to enough races. So I do. So it's been great.
So it's probably been pretty good in the fact that you can probably have kind of taken yourself out of the daily having to update the website kind of deal. And you got people that do that or automation systems that you didn't know of. And it's so much better now because you can be in the field.
1,000,000%.
And while you're in the field, you can also be kind of a little spokesperson for MyRacePass.com, right?
100%. And
do you ever go up to a kid? Let's say he's like a Clay Harris, for instance.
I do Clay Harris's website. What if I told you that?
Well, as I say, I was only using him as an example of a hot shoe that's kind of come out of nowhere.
Should have won at your place the other night.
Should have won at my place the other night. But let's say, you're in Des Moines, Iowa. You probably don't know who Clay Harris is.
But I do a guy named Tom Berry that lives in Des Moines, Iowa. See this game we're playing?
See, motherfucker.
Yeah, we're playing this game.
I can't get a thought in because you got fucking clients all over the world. But let's say, let's say you go to a local, to a Lucas Flow racing show.
Yes.
And you see a kid. And he's got potential, much like Clay Harris before you started doing his site. Well, you roll up to him and say, "Hey, kid, you're pretty damn good." And I checked and see that you really don't have a good website presence, and that's kind of where things start and stop with regards to marketing yourself.
Yes, sir.
And getting people to know you, and just having a domain for people to give out to businesses. And that's what I do. And give me a call because I think we could put something together for you.
1,000,000%. Tyler Bruning just got a website being built this week for him. Met with his dad Saturday at Alltech. There you go. So yeah.
So I didn't know that MSR Mafia was absorbed, or man, you're just like a little Rigsby. Rigsby got his thing bought for big bucks. Did you get a lot of money? Did you make a lot of money?
Well, you wouldn't tell me what you were offering East Bay. I'm not telling you a damn thing on what I got.
Okay,
so.
I offered him $500 for his double sheep's foot.
Okay, I got $498 for my company. So yeah, there we go.
Up, you're so stupid. You're so dumb. Hey, you know what though? I did like our little piece you did. I did like that.
I got a lot of good feedback. You know what I'm going to say about this, Bubba? So, again, I'm getting ready to leave this morning, and Rigsby's like, Bubba's going to burn you down. He's going to put you in the corner.
Way. No, you are in the corner, but I'm not going to burn you down.
Nobody puts Baby in the corner, but they put Ben in the corner.
Right.
But no, I told him, I was like, man, I feel like you and I have a repertoire, and what I like about you, Bubba, that some people may hate, and they definitely hate it about me, you're honest. And people, I always say, you might not like what I say, but you know I'm being honest. And to me, the greatest gift you can give anybody is be honest. And I feel like we got to know Bubba a little bit in that piece we did, a free flow over on Flow Racing. Check it out. Me and Bubba the Love Sponge back from last week at Ocala Speedway.
We
did. Feature.
Now, hey, look at that picture right there. You know where that was taken?
I'm still looking at Rocket One, man.
Bubba Raceway Park.
Oh, well, yeah, it was because he won, and then you made him put that goofy hat on, and I busted his balls about that.
I know. Because I got to the podium late, because I usually give it to all three of them, right?
Yeah.
And I got to the podium late because I was hoping to God that Swally was saying that what the bottom lane was not rubber, it was just slick juice.
Yep.
And and I was like, Swally. And so then Richards comes in and says, "I'll tell you right now, that wasn't rubber. Look at my number 2 right rear." And I looked at
Richard sounds like Kyle Bronson. I'm going to throw that out there.
Listen, I am the worst in impersonation. I call Mark Richards Mr. Personality because he's got such an outgoing personality, and so. And I love him, by the way. But I was like,
I can tell you some Mark stories, man.
I was more worried about everybody having a misconception that my track rubbered the second night. And I was like, because it looked like it.
I thought it rubbered from the infield. I'll be honest. I was like,
so
this bitch has bolted, is what I thought.
So did I. And I was like, man, they're all down at the bottom. And so Swally comes over and he goes, and he wasn't mad. And he was like, man, that caution killed us because it sealed the track kind of over with dew. And it made it more, that 44-minute caution really, really did us in. But before that, it was okay. It kind of turned the top into crumbs. And so I'm like, that's not I hadn't been out to the track. I go, that's not rubber? He's like, no, it's not rubber.
It had to latch a little bit late, though, right?
I think it latched
especially 1 and 2.
Going into 1,
yeah.
I think it latched, but the times weren't going up, and nobody hurt their tires. They all ran 2s. What were they practicing with on East Bay? Was it Sunday night? Were they on 2s?
They practiced Sunday. I have no idea. I was at a concert Sunday and Monday.
Which concert?
Well, Sunday night I saw Seven Dust and Dope and Static X, and then last night Pantera and Lamb of God. You guys we don't get any concerts in Memphis. You guys get legit concerts here.
We are like the death metal capital of the world.
Well, that's what Randy Blythe said last night from Lamb of God. He said we're in the birth of death metal here.
This
Cannibal Corpse. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to do I'm thinking about doing a death metal concert at BRP at my place.
Oh man.
And Cannibal Corpse is from here.
Yeah.
And I didn't know you were that cool.
I'm really not. And if you ask a lot of people, they really don't think
Now, which one of those fucking sodbusters went to this? No, Rigsby's not going to a Static X concert. I'm telling you.
Hey, and by the way,
maybe Taylor Swift.
The new Static X, amazing. I don't know what I expected. It was quite the experience. You know who went with me to both those?
Who?
Myself, because nobody else listens to good music. I got Dustin Jarrett. He's listening to like 1930s country.
Turbo might have gone with you.
Turbo might have also got us in jail. Let's be honest.
Yeah, Turbo, man, he's
on the chip.
Did you see my nose right here?
Did he punch you?
No, but him and I got into this wrestling match at my track. He thought he was all that. I said, "Come on, motherfucker! I used to wrestle high school."
He's got that sneaky strength. Do not let him put those giant boxing gloves on. Because he's got like those chimpanzee arms. He will beat you into a pulp. Don't let him trick you.
Devin Moran will be my witness, and maybe you can ask him. Just maybe one of your on track interviews can be, hey, I heard Bubba and Herb got into it at the track. Friendly, and who won? I won.
You won.
I hugged him so hard that I broke my glasses, and it caused this big cut on my nose.
If he doesn't have a war wound and you do, then who really won, Bubba?
Well,
I'm just saying. I'm just spitballing here.
You make an interesting point. You really do. So, Ben Shelton from MSR Mafia.
My Race Pass now.
My race. Now, but does MSR Mafia go, does it hopscotch over to My Race Pass?
Yeah.
Like if somebody types in MSR Mafia.
Mafia.com, it's going to take you there. Yeah. And then Flow Racing, and then anything else that pay. It turns out I'm a jack of all trade and master of none, Bubba. I'm okay at a lot of stuff, but I'm not really good at anything.
But here's what people don't realize is that call myracepass.com. Tell them you want to. Hey, listen, I just saw the Rocket One website, and that would be something that I would kind of want.
You want one more cool one real quick that I think you'll appreciate?
What's that?
SchraderRacing.com. Check out Ken's stuff. Yeah, check out Kenny. Kenny's already won a race this year. Kenny runs more races now than he ever did. Just Schrader, SCHRAD.
SCHRADER.
Yeah, racing.com.
Racing.com.
Yep.
Hey, let me tell you something about Kenny Schrader.
Kenny something. I love Miss Ann.
That guy knows how to make money. He's got renter rides. He's got sponsor. I mean, he's killing it, is he not?
You know who the talent is in that family, though? Miss Ann. I mean, his wife Ann. She's the talent.
So people can, there's all type of variation. You can get something super fancy like that. But what I was going to say is, what people don't realize is this is way, way, way. And I'm not trying to, squeeze a dollar out of you, but this is
good because I only got 50 cents.
This is way less expensive than it looks.
No, it is. We got something for everybody, and I don't want to make this a sales pitch. There's a lot of cool stuff going on, but yeah, I mean, we do digital ads. I think we're getting ready to do maybe a new website for Ocala Speedway. I was talking to Candace there the other night, and there's just a lot of cool stuff.
Did you like her new logo? I did.
I love that logo. As Rigsby says, it's an avocado. And I like it.
It's a true representation of what our track is. And I know that over the years, we've had good races, we've had bad races, but I think this year was probably I think this year was probably our best set of two races, and I think that we're excited for what 2025 looks like Speed Weeks. Obviously that's probably the 800-pound gorilla in the room that a lot of people do kind of know. Some people have speculated.
Are you giving us breaking news right here? Is that what you're doing?
No, I'm not.
I think I know, but I'm not going to be one to say it. Are you going to say it?
I think a lot of racers have come to me, and it's kind of gotten out, I think, what temporarily they may want to do.
What do you think they want to do, Bubba?
I think they want to give all three tracks like a weekend. I think they want to give Ocala Speedway a weekend. They want to give Golden Isles a weekend. They want to give Alltech a weekend. And so I think that's what they want to do. And I think they may want to start it a little bit later in the year. So that's kind of what I know.
I feel like you're giving us breaking news right now.
Well, no, you know that, Ben.
I know nothing.
I know
just nothing, Jon Snow.
You're just trying to cover your ass. That's all you're trying. That's all you're trying to do.
Bubba, who's the most famous person that's been in this studio?
Well, let me tell you.
I want to put you in the spot.
I've had Kevin Cronin from REO.
Oh man. Keep on loving you.
Yeah.
Can't stop this feeling.
Kevin Cronin did an acoustic set.
Seriously.
No, for real.
I love REO.
I've had Night Ranger on stage.
Oh, Jack Blades. Let's go.
And Jack Blades was one of the coolest. I've had Jesse Dupree and Jackal.
Oh, man. Did he get naked in here? Because that's some stuff he does on stage.
But he did get the chainsaw out.
Did he cut a stool in half?
Yes, he did.
He's a lumberjack, baby.
I've had, let me see, who else have I had in here? I've had Charlie Murphy. I've had Tony Stewart. I've had, who else have we
Who's
had?
somebody you've not had that you want to have in your studio to interview?
Trump.
Oh, wow.
I'd love to have Trump in here.
This place actually kind of screams Donald Trump. I'm going to be honest.
It does.
I think you could have a legit interview in here with Donald.
I think, I've had Roger Stone on. I've had, Tucker Carlson has sat in your same chair before.
Well, let me sit up a little bit straighter then.
Hold on. Joe Rogan.
Seriously?
Yes. Hold on. I should go through my signature page on my AOL deal. Yes, I am still Johnny AOL. I'm so sorry.
Do you have net zero? Is that why the website is a little slow loading there? You got a net zero up in here?
Net zero, motherfucker. And here's the thing about
CD.
it is we got 1K. Like we got the fastest, we got 1K.
Well, I'm going to come work here in the studio during the day. Our rental house does not have 1K.
We got 1K. So here's okay. So
sharing it.
Here's the people that I've had.
Chris Rock.
Phone versus studio.
Okay.
Joe Rogan studio. Tucker Carlson studio. Howard Stern studio. Deion Sanders studio. Tony Stewart, studio. Larry Bird, phone. Mark Cuban, phone.
Was Stormy Daniels phone or in studio?
Both.
Oh.
Brett Favre, phone. Paul Mooney, studio. Dennis Rodman, studio. Hulk Hogan, studio.
Joe Walsh.
The Rock. I have the funniest Joe Walsh story you'll ever hear in your entire life.
Life's been good laying on me.
So I was at 98 Rock doing it was heard locally, and we were in the 98 Rock studios. It's before I had my own studios, and so he was in my studio within iHeart, and he goes, and I'm interviewing him, and he's got a show, a standalone Joe Walsh show, not with the Eagles, at a pretty decent sized venue, and I'm talking to him all of these questions, just what inspired you for Life's Been Good to Me so far? Yep. How well do you and Glenn Fry get along? How long do just ask, and he's being real, just short answers. Yes, no.
Doesn't seem like that would be him at all.
No, and he's not into it at all. But prior to coming to the studio, he was down by my office because we had like this couch kind of down by my office, and that's where guests would stay. And this was like, circa 99, 2000. And remember, porn used to be on VHS tapes. That's how
the good stuff still is.
True. The real amateur stuff that you're looking for.
You probably got some A-trap porn, don't you?
I got beta. So let's go. We go to a commercial break, and I go, Joe, listen, man, can you play a solo, or can you do Hotel California, or? And he goes, and I can't do my Joe Walsh imitation, but he kind of has like a talk like this kind of deal.
Right.
And he goes, listen, I'll play any song you want if I can have some of that porn you got back there. Now I had piles and piles of porn, because back in the day, before social media, these porn companies, Digital Underground and Wicked Entertainment, all that kind of deal, they would send us a copy for us to watch to then talk about on the air. So we would get free promo copies of everything, double anal penetrate, like you name
the classy stuff.
Yeah, the good stuff.
Yeah.
And so, and we had mountains of it. So I was like, Joe, you can. What is there any particular porn that you want? And he goes, I'd like to have about 10 of them. And I said, okay. Our commercial stop sets were 8 minutes and 20 seconds, and it was we had like about 5 minutes left. I said, well, go down to my office and pick out 10 titles, and they're yours. You can have them. Will that better your attitude? And he goes, if I just let me come back. He comes back. He's got like come on my jugs, and just some really crazy stuff, right?
Your all-time favorites.
Black on blondes. Like, he's just got it all, right? He's got 10 really nice copies. And he goes, we come back from break. Bubba the Love Sponge, 98 Rock. Joe Walsh here with us today. Joe, did you get what you wanted? Yes, got what I wanted. And then he just automatically goes, he just starts going into solo after solo after solo, just answering any questions. Said that Austin, Texas was one of his favorite places with regards to groupies. Said that he hated Massachusetts, like those women are uptight.
Wow.
And he was just telling me but it all started and stopped by me offering him porn.
I feel like his legal team's going to be reaching out to you later today. I'm just spitballing here. I don't you better dig up the archives and have them ready to justify what have you got them. Okay.
So we got Chris Rock, that's over the phone. John Cena in studio, Kid Rock in studio, Bob Saget in studio.
R.I.P.
Dana White in studio, Brian Johnson, AC/DC in studio, Mark Wahlberg in studio, Louis C.K. on the phone, and he hung up on me.
I can believe that.
Dan Patrick phone, Jim Rome studio, Aerosmith studio, Charlie Murphy studio, REO studio, Vince studio, Sap studio, Dick Butkus,
the legend
studio, R.I.P. Dick. And let me tell you about Dick Butkus. He comes in
Tell
here.
me about him.
He comes in here, and he's got these Butkus boots. He's slinging these boots. So he gives us all these pair of boots, and then they're just like, they're all right. They're boots. They're working boots, and supposedly they have springs in the soles to
I
make
need
it
these.
like you
I need these.
You'd be as tall as Rigsby.
Go Gadget shoes. Hell yeah, let's go.
So like Jeff Gordon, there was always a rumor that Jeff Gordon wore wedges in his shoes. So
Judgment free if you did, Jeff.
So we get done doing an interview. We do like a 35, 40, 45-minute interview, and this is when we were doing afternoons on Howard 101. So we got done at 7:00, and he's like, "Hey." And this has never happened to me. Now this is not some schlep boy. This is Dick Hall of Fame Butkus. I mean, this is a big name. Like Rigsby would probably be touching himself to Dick Butkus, knowing he's a Chicago Bear fan.
Assuming he hasn't already.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So Dick goes. It's 7:00 now. Around this area is like Charlie Steakhouse, Ruth Chris Steakhouse. Like this is really kind of really nice restaurant row around this area. And he goes, "How about me and your?" Now I got a crew of this at this time of like 11 guys, And he goes, "How about me and your crew go to Charlie's and get a steak on me?" So he took us down to Charlie's and we ate dinner with Dick Butkus, asking him all the questions, cool questions.
So he's a good dude, just all around good dude.
Great dude.
That.
Kurt Angle, Tommy Lee, Lawrence Taylor, Stormy Daniels, Jesse Dupree, Candlebox, Henry Rollins.
I love Candlebox. Let's go.
All in studio. Jim Brewer in studio. Anthony Munoz in studio. Tony Dungy, Jeb Bush, Ron Capps in studio.
Legit.
That's a hell of a list right there.
Best interview all time in the studio. You told me the biggest celebrities, best all time interview.
You're going to clown me.
No, I'm judgment free, maybe.
Now, you see all those names I've had.
I do.
And that is an app. I mean, fucking, Brett Favre, Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson.
You got
Howard
a lot of
Stern.
Packers stuff in here. I noticed that would really disappoint Rigsby. It's probably good he wasn't here to see that.
You want to know and I don't even have this guy listed on my list, which thank you for reminding me. I have to add him. You ready?
I've been waiting.
Richard Marx.
Really?
That motherfucker.
Has he still got hair? Like the badass mullet hair?
No,
the original mullet.
No, he actually married Daisy Fuentes.
Yeah, well, he just went up my list right there. I did not realize that.
Yeah, and so he comes in here. And my producers are telling me, like, listen, this guy, we've listened to him do some other radio, and he's really funny, and he's pretty cool, and like he's not, like conservative and sings all these love songs.
What was his
shit.
big hit? What was it called?
Oh my God, there's so many hits.
But he had the one really big one that put him on the map. What was it? I was like 10 years old.
Richard Marx. Let me see. Richard Marx. I don't.
Wasn't
know.
he married to the chick from Dirty Dancing at one point too, the blonde?
I don't know.
This is bad.
I don't know if you guys
this knowledge that'll never make us any money.
True, but let me see. What was his big song?
Right Here Waiting.
Right
I think
Here
that
Waiting.
was the one I feel like he came out swinging.
Yeah.
And that's a remake in 17. That baby came out in like 89 or something.
Right. So anyway, here's his official site. Let's see if it's good as by going to your. Oh, you could smoke.
Oh, he's still got great hair. Look at that. Respect.
Oh yeah. So he comes in here, and he is so fucking cool, and he's just like, we talk about mailbox money and how the real money in radio, I mean the real money in rock and roll is the publishing and the writing. That's where the real money is.
Yeah.
And he had written like 5 or 6 #1 country songs and was getting, and then Right Here Waiting and stuff. And I just flat out asked him, I said, what? And this was in 2000 and like maybe 10. And I asked him, I said, well, what type of residual ASCAP BMI money do you get, being the producer, the writer, and the publisher of all your songs, plus all the #1 songs that you've written in country that people don't know about? $12 million a year.
That's a good living, Bubba. That's a good living.
And that ain't doing shit. That's just
good for him, though, because you hear these stories, but the songwriter's the key part, right?
Right.
You got to be the songwriter. There was this great story back in the day when Richard Marx was, and I don't know if it's true or not, But he was getting ready to go
a Rod Stewart story?
No. He was getting ready to go on tour, and somebody was working in a record store. Yes, kids, there used to be this thing called record stores where you could buy records and tapes. Those have gone away. And he was in there, and he was buying a song book, and he was checking out, and they were like, what are you doing? He's like, well, I hadn't been on tour in a minute. Some of these songs, I got to touch up on them. And I was like, man, you think somebody would give him a free one? But I don't know if that was true or not, but I always thought that was a funny story. But man, good for him. Good for him.
I don't know, Rhett. I don't know if Rhett's over there, and he could do a global search for me. But he did a rendition of the Bee Gees' "Staying Alive."
Oh,
now is that falsetto? Is that what that is?
I would call that falsetto. I'd call that abilities that add that to the long list of abilities I don't have. Yes.
Right, and maybe Rhett, who's in Master Control, can find it for me or not.
Master Control. That sounds fancy.
But if you can. Richard Marx doing the Bee Gees deal. So we're fucking around with Richard Marx, talking to him and just, being super cool. Well, we find out that he doesn't like John Legend. We find out that he has a problem with John Legend.
Well, that's disappointing. John Legend's pretty freaking awesome, but yeah.
So he writes this talking shit song about John Legend right on the fly, just does it. And none of my producers are here right now, and I'd have to get it right. I don't know if I can find it or not, or anybody's listening, but he writes this shit song about John Legend, and then I ask him to go into, to see what type of range he has to go into a falsetto "Staying Alive" by the Bee Gees, and he does that too. And so, unfortunately, I don't have that right. I would be a little bit more prepared if I...
It's okay. You didn't expect us to be talking about Richard Marx in your defense.
I really didn't. I thought we were going to talk about.
I'm diversified, Bubba. Like, racing is just one thing that I know a bunch of useless knowledge about. I know it about a lot of different things.
What else do you know knowledge about? I didn't know that you were a death metal guy.
Not as much death metal. I respect all types of music. I will go to any type of concert to check out. Like, Rigsby is a huge Swiftie, and while Taylor Swift, that's not my style of music. She is amazing. She's very talented. And
I got to be honest with you, I'm kind of becoming one.
Well, you know what? Her personality, and we watched the Eras tour while we were out at the Wild West Shootout at the Votto House, and Michael's lovely wife, Amber, who understands, going to be recording some intros and outros for you. She was out there, this legend on our crew named Adam Martz, Steve Gigas, a Hall of Famer, and Rigsby and Dustin Jarrett and I, and I'm going to be honest, I got to go to one of these shows. It's entertaining, but music is probably my biggest passion. I do love racing, and man, I just like having a good time. I like entertainment. I like anything that's going to be entertaining. I'm all about it. And Bubba, I'm going to be honest with you. I was sad. I was a huge, not as much now, I was a huge Howard guy back in the day. And man, when you got added to Howard 101, that solidified me buying that first Sirius subscription. Before it was Sirius XM. And yeah, dude, I've been following your stuff for a long time. So it's really cool being in here. It's fun that we can bust each other's balls. It's also funny that last year you wanted to run me and Rigsby over with a monster truck because we gave Bubba a little not great love. And you're ready to get to us.
And I texted, I think
immediately you texted
both of you.
us.
Like,
yes.
Listen, you motherfuckers. And I don't know that any other track owner has that dynamic with you guys.
Oh, no, we get that a lot, but I don't think anybody would give us a chance of redemption. But you know what? I'm going to say this. You went to work, dude. You and Tom and the gang, you went to work. And respect.
And I got to tell you, man, we got planned. We're going to actually, there's going to be a big swing of I'm taking a big swing at something new Wednesday, and hopefully I'll just tell you, I'm putting
breaking news
60 cubic yards of brand new clay in turn 3 and 4.
Boys and girls, that's about 120 tons he's putting down out there. Yes.
And so turn 3 and 4 for USAC, the material is going to go clear to the top of the bin wall.
Let's be clear, though. Do the USAC guys know you're putting 120 tons of new material down the week of their event?
No, they will have. No, they don't.
Okay, well, they do now. So.
Well, but what I'm saying, so, and then by the time Lucas comes back, I'm going to have all of turn 1 and 2. The banking clear to the top of the bin block.
Well, then what are you doing with your fence? They're going to be going through the fence.
No, I got that double. Remember, I got that double guardrail. I got that double.
What about down at?
We're putting. I'm sorry. Yeah. We're putting another row of bin block over the entire track.
Okay.
So every place that we're adding banking, we're also going to add another row of bin block.
Going to work.
So that you have. Right now you have one bin block holding you in the park. You're going to have a one bin block holding you in the park there too. but we're going to have built the material up to the existing bin block.
You're going to work. I respect.
I don't know. I think that should really, really,
I am interested in how you guys putting all this material down before your USAC show. That's aggressive. That's aggressive. But
yeah, but you know what? They're not nearly as high maintenance as you guys
okay,
are.
look, I grew up on sprint cars in Memphis. That was last year when Tony and the gang, and they added me to the Sprint Car Million broadcast staff. They're like, why is this late model hobo coming in? Dude, I grew up on sprint cars. I grew up at the ditch in West Memphis, Arkansas. That's my home track, Riverside Speedway.
And they're usually, and take USAC even cooler than sprint cars. USACs are like, give us a fucking track. We'll race it. We don't give a fuck.
But you are not doing yourself justice if you don't think the sprint car folks complain as much as the late model folks do. The only difference is they might not say it to you. Turbo's coming in here, and he's going to just lay it all out there like there's no tomorrow. Now, if you bring Robert Ballou in here, Robert's going to let you know really fast what he thinks. I love that dude.
Robert Ballou's been banned from Eldora for his mouth, has he not?
He has. But they let him back, and you know what? I love it. I love it. But here's my thing. I have no issue, and I don't care if bashing you, bashing me, bashing whatever. If things are bad, bash it. But, man, when it's good, it's a two-way street. You can't keep your damn mouth shut when stuff's going well. And that's probably my biggest complaint, not just in our sport, but in the world. I always say that, when one of our tracks has had a good night, because nobody's saying a damn word on social media. But, man, you let one corn dog be 1 degree cold, and you're the Antichrist.
Charge 22 cents more for a soda than you're supposed to, and everybody thinks you're the biggest asshole ever to walk the earth.
It's a two-way street. It is. And so that same deal. Last year, Rigsby and I, we gave you some crap, because you did some interesting things last year. But you guys come back last year, and that first night on Tuesday, I felt like it's the best race I've ever seen there, and we gave you love. So it's two-way street, man. If you feel like it's bad, speak out. But when it's good, damn it, speak out too.
Well, I do. I just don't like to bug you guys. And
yes, you do.
And I got to tell
Since
you, man,
when?
And I got to tell you that Drive Home franchise, they need to keep an eye on that. That thing is really, really, really taken off in a very organic, evergreen type way.
So I got to tell you a funny thing about that. That deal, we were trying to figure out starting speed weeks this year, 6-7 years we've been doing it, something like that. And when we started, I'm going to throw another one of our guys under the bus. Amazing guy on the Flow Racing team, Tim Truex. He owned Loud Pedal back in the day, and just an amazing talent. And so Rigsby tells Tim, "Hey, we're gonna go live on the way home from the track each night in the van." And he's like, "Yeah, I don't think anybody's gonna care." Dude, they have stuff that they just have stupid budgets on. They plan a year for that doesn't get the kind of attention the Drive Home does. But it's also that thing where everybody's like, we want to know what you really think. And then as soon as you say what you really think, I'm sure I've pissed some people off here today. As soon as you say what you really think, then they get mad when it's not what they want to hear.
I think Rigsby needs to take Adderall because he can't stay on fucking topic. You have to always flank back because he's just shot out of a cannon.
Yeah, I mean, he's Rigsby. We love him. We love him for all his flaws. But yeah, that's the thing. So we have a good time with it. But yeah, that drive home is just blown into a monster. And I think it just shows, look, we're human. And sometimes there's stuff I say, and as soon as I say it, I'm like, gosh, I shouldn't have said that. And then I get destroyed. But the thing that I noticed, Bubba, through it all, and it's both the people in our sport, the competitors, the tracks, the personalities, the media. COVID changed everything, dude. And when we started having races without people at it, and then even when there was races with people, but a lot of people couldn't go, people really got to know the people in our sport. And I really think there's a lot of potential. But I also want to say this. People like to take swings at you, and we all put ourselves out there, but we've all kind of started swinging back a little bit, and they don't like that. And I'm like, dude, if you're going to throw it, just like Turbo throwing a hook at you, you throw a hook back at Turbo, hey, man, fair's fair. And I think that's one thing that, I watch how especially these drivers get talked about by people, and they act like they're entitled to be able to say that. And man, they're people, dude. So just keep in mind, when you swing at them, if they swing back, you can't be the victim if you threw the first punch. So that's all I want to say.
Exactly. Of which, I know you're maybe watching yesterday's show. What was your take on Turbo? We played the last lap of the champion of the Eldora, the Dirt Track World Championship, whatever the hell it was called. And it was Bishop winning. He runs out of gas going into about the middle of 3 and 4. HUD and Devin Moran are coming out of 2. Devin's on the high side. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, Devin's on the high. Devin's on the high side.
You can do this.
He gets a little out of shape. He hits that bump. Car gets a little wobbly. HUD throws it into 2, and is trying to stay off of Devin. And it's right at this very critical moment that the race was probably determined, and Devin raced him like a cool guy. Kept the wheels straight, or maybe even drifted out a little bit to give HUD a little bit of room because HUD needed that room he was pushing. HUD's turning left to stay off of Devin. We asked Tyler, what do you do at that thing? And he, without missing a beat, Tyler goes, I turned hard left on him immediately.
They would have been looking for HUD out in the woods still if that had been Turbo, so thankfully it was Devin. No, I mean, but that's respect. Go back to the late model million 2 years ago, and and Chris Madden and Davenport. Madden, we're talking about $1 million payday in dirt late model racing, and Madden ran him with utmost respect, and that's just the level of these guys. And I know Turbo says that. I think in that moment Turbo would have still showed some respect.
I think so too. I think so too.
Turbo talks a big game, and look, sometimes Turbo does stuff, and I'm like, oh man, what did he just do? But he respects the guys who respect him. I think he would have raced HUD the exact same way. I really do.
I do too. And HUD is just such a great kid. Does he not? I mean, when with regards to your job, and you are always the guy that after they win the heat or they win the A main, you're trackside. You're the trackside guy.
Yes, sir.
And so usually you're the one that gets their true emotions literally minutes after they just won a race, whether it be a heat race, a consi, or an A main. And who are some of the fun ones that you're like, okay, good, such and such.
Put me on this.
Well,
see, I knew this was coming. I knew this was coming.
I mean, you're not going to let you go. I'm not going to just let you walk in here with pretty hair. Please.
I have thrown you under the bus today, so this is fair. You're throwing it back at me.
And I asked Turbo and Devin. By the way, I got will you verify to Devin that I have my Devin Moran shirt on?
You do have it on.
I do have it on. God, his wife is beautiful.
Your girlfriend is beautiful. Let's talk. It's Aaron, right?
Eric.
I'm sorry.
I'm Erica.
Erica. See, you got it wrong. I was like, yeah, he's a very lovely man. Erica is gorgeous, by the way.
Yeah, and you like her because she's shorter than you are.
She is shorter than me. I'm 6'2", she's 6 foot.
Yeah,
and it's beautiful. And she got the leather pants on. The day I came in, I was like, damn, I wish she was interviewing me, not Bubba.
I got to tell you, man, out of all the people that were working, out of all the tracks that you've worked, out of all the tracks that you've been to this year so far, and she works the office at my track.
Yeah, she does.
I guarantee you, I probably have the woman that has the best cleavage and knockers at my place.
Yeah, I don't even know what to do with that.
And she really likes to show off too,
Well, rightfully so. I did walk in there.
And that's on my brand. That's on brand, right?
Yeah, and it is. And I walked in there at Ocala, went in to get my credential, and she's like, "You're the guy off the drive home." I'm like, "Hell yeah, I am." So
because you know why? She's been in bed with me before when I watch you guys, and so she didn't know you were Trackside Willie. She didn't know that you were MSR Mafia. She didn't know that you were My Race Pass Willie. She only knew you as the drive home guy.
See, this because the drive home, that's where it's at.
And
you know what? Screw all this other content. Screw the live broadcast. We're just going to do the drive home every night. My life gets so much easier at that point.
Well, it does because you're just keeping Rigsby on point. So, three.
I thought I got away from this question.
You're not getting away. Three guys. Okay, so and so the winner is
Brandon Overton every time.
Three guys that you just absolutely love. To interview because listen, some racers you're in the content business.
Yes.
And you're in the substance business. And if a guy rolls up there and just saying...
To be clear, substance is in interviews, not as in narcotics.
Well, I mean, hard telling with you. But, I mean, I didn't know if you're doing a bump before they get there or not. I mean, if Bloomer's around, you never know. So, anyway...
Wow.
So, guys pulling up, and, you want to get, you're in the entertainment business, and you're in the, asking good questions and getting good feedback business. If you were a dry popcorn fart and couldn't get the best out of racers, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing.
Fair.
So, you're pulling up, and some guys give you the good stuff, and some guys be like, yeah, track's a little slick, try our best, we're going to do our best we can, we're going to go back, make some adjustments, and, track, I don't know, I might be good, my lockdown, I don't know if I'm going to use a 2 or a 3, but, we're going to try our best. You get that, and then you get the smiling Hudson O'Neills to be like, man, I got a good crew, and Bobby, and
man, you sound like Huddy,
and Mark, man, and then Seaford Farms.
Don't forget about Danny and Joel,
and Danny and Joel, and
Austin.
Fox Shocks, man, we really, really appreciate that. And
but he's professional, dude. He's doing his job.
He looks so good. He's got a smile on his face, and he's just so happy. And it doesn't even matter if a guy just I'm telling you, I'm trying my hardest, and I feel like, maybe I got into the 49 there a little bit there, but, I'm sorry about that. And, JD's a good guy and everything. And so we're going to roll it back up here, this Andy Durham Ford Valvoline #1 Seaford Farms. And we're going to come out, gosh darn it, do our best for the feature, Ben. Thank you. And then you get to, you get to guys that, act like I did a few minutes ago, and you can't. It's like they got marbles in their mouth, and it sucks, and it's not giving you nothing. So give me top 3, bottom 3.
Well, I feel like the bottom 3 is aggressive. Okay, can I qualify the bottom?
Are you woke now, bitch?
Can I qualify the bottom 3 at least?
Yes, you
can. Cool. All right, so top 3, it's Brandon Overton. Because this is Brandon Overton. At any point, if he was on network TV, they'd have him on a 28-second delay. Because you walk up and you're like Brandon. You're like, man, you won, but he got into you.
Fuck yeah, I did.
He's like, fuck yeah, man. Shit, Shelton. I tell you what, these some bitches are crazy.
These motherfuckers are crazy. Let me say, if Herb does that shit again, I'll put him in the wall. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, let me put Brandon Overton on the spot, because this son of a, I've done Overton's website forever. I do PR.
Is he behind on the bill?
No.
So I'll call him right now.
David Wells takes care of all that. Trust me. Anyway, done Overton's stuff forever.
For the Yankees?
The other, yeah. So,
I got an autograph from David Wells.
I bet you do.
From the Yankees.
You are like a golden retriever who has ate a bag of sugar. That's what it's like trying to answer a question with you, Bubba.
I'm sorry, buddy.
It's fun. I love golden retrievers, though, and sugar's delicious, so it's fine.
I'm sorry you're finally getting interviewed by a real guy. Sorry about
that. So Overton, obviously, I love him. I also want to give him shit, though, because Rigsby and I were talking about it. 9 times out of 10, if I call him, if we call or text him, he ain't going to answer. He answered you from an unknown number. All that I can assume is it said Bubba Radio Network. That's all that okay, so he did answer that. He answered that when you and Turbo and Devin called him. I really like Brandon. Sometimes even though I want to kill him, Turbo, that was like the other night at your place. I didn't ask him for the broadcast, but afterward for the flow recap, I said,
choked.
Well, I asked him, I said, what goes through your head when you see the 20 RT up beside you? And he goes, fuck. I love that. And really, those are kind of 2 and 3. Number 1 is going to always be Scott Bloomquist. I don't care if he's racing or not. And in my career, what I learned really fast, and if you go back and watch these early Dirt on Dirt videos, you'll see it. When you're interviewing Scott and you get to a point where he's got something prolific to say and he goes, when he does that little growl, you can always watch me lean in, because he's about to say, like when Jared Landers won the top, was, I feel like I didn't even run a race today, or when they put me to the back, the show was over. When he does like that growl throat clear, shit's about to get prolific. So Scott will always be number 1. I don't care if he's racing or not.
I got my Scott Bloomquist story.
Lay it on me.
So we're putting a little juju juice in the we're putting some soil surfactant in like one of the first couple.
That's fancy. Soil surfactant.
Yeah, soil surfactant.
Surfactant.
You like that?
Yeah.
Soil surfactant.
You're a lot smarter than I thought you were.
Thank you.
Know that?
So we're adding we're throwing that in the truck, to help it not rubber, and Bloomer's he's running. This is, I think, might have been World of Outlaws, like maybe 13, 14, something like that, before we switched over to Lucas.
Okay.
When Tim Chrisman was running.
Chrisman's my boy, by the way. Ocala native.
Ocala native, and he used to run my track at one time, and I think minor league catcher for the Phillies or Cardinals or something like that. Did you know that?
He also highly lactose intolerant, doesn't realize it. We've been driving down the road so many times when he's bought ice cream and he's about crapped himself. So
Tim Chrisman.
Tim is one of my best friends in the world. I'd go lay down in traffic for that dude. I learned so much from him when I was working for the Outlaws.
Dude.
So anyway.
Great dude. Yes. So the Outlaws are in town. I think it might have been the race. Remember when B-Shep passed Bloomer on the last lap at my track? Because Bloomer was
and the Rocket won.
And Bloomer, because Bloomer kind of wasn't really paying attention, protecting the high side, and B-Shep came in there. I think it might have been that year. So I'm in the water truck and I'm watering it, and nobody.
That's what you do.
Nobody asks me any fucking questions. Well, I finally get out on the track on my 4-wheeler, and I'm looking at what's laying in, what's laying down, and he rolls up in his 4-wheeler and he goes, "Hey." And I go, "Hey, Scott, what you doing, buddy?" "Good."
He meant it too.
And he goes, I go, "Good. What can I do for you?" "What are you putting in the truck?" "What do you mean?" "The juju juice that you're putting in the truck. What are you putting in it?" I go, "How do you know I'm doing that?" He goes, "Because my tires on my 4-wheeler are blue. They're not normal, the normal, clay, brown.
Yeah.
They got a blue tinge to it."
Who else would have noticed that?
And I was like blown away. I'm like, you know what? I've been doing this now for 5 or 6 years, and nobody has ever made that observation. And he goes, not a lot gets by me. and then he just drove on. But he was the only guy, based on how the tires on his 4-wheeler had a small blue hue to it. He knew I was adding something to the track, and he asked to see it. He wanted to see it. That's how, like yesterday when I had Tyler and Devin in here, there was not even a hesitation as to the GOAT. There's not there's.
I
do
love me some Moyer, but you go hardcore crown jewels. It's hard to go against Scott.
And I do love me some Jimmy Owens too. I mean,
And Jimmy's not done yet. He's not done yet.
And I do love me some old school Don O'Neill.
Don, what a legend.
Have you seen that meme where JD gets into him and turn 4 at East Bay, and it looks like there's no human being on the earth that could save it,
and he saved it? We were actually watching that this morning. That video has had a bazillion views since like 13, 14, whenever that was. That was the save of saves.
That looked like the way 410 non-wings run. You know what I'm saying? How they just get super yacked up.
So in my time, you mentioned Don. I used to really struggle with Don interviews because here's what Don would do. Let's say whether Don just won 100,000 or he got junked on the first lap. I go up to him. I'm like, Don, talk to me about what happened down there in turn 1. And I'm going to try to look at the camera. Don would go, we went down into turn 1. And then I'm like, wait, is he done? And then he would be. And then I would be like, Don, tell me about your sponsors on this race car. I'll tell you what, the Masters Built and Petrov Towing and Eller Lumber and I wouldn't know what to do with it. And so it was always a joke that you never knew if Don was done or not. But damn it, the sport loses something without Don out on the racetrack. And it's funny because Huddy's the most amazing interview. It wasn't that Don was bad.
Huddy's the best.
Don would just abruptly stop. He's got better. Dennis Erb Jr. used to be pulling teeth out, looping me back in my.
I know.
I feel like
everything. Sorry.
My producer doesn't even do this on the broadcast. Yeah, they do sometimes.
Do they double track?
Sometimes they do that.
Just to throw you off.
They do. So Dennis Erb, and Dennis has got better, but he used to be Dennis was like 1 or 2 words, and like if he won something, I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm going to ask.
So is this your bottom 3?
This was my bottom 3, and I go all time because
real deal Don O'Neill.
Yeah,
number 1.
Dennis Erb, and then my third, and this is the honest to God truth, and it's funny now because I'll probably get a text when he hears this. Now we've got to be buddies, and he laughs and cuts up. Straight up intimidated by Daryl Lanigan back in the World of Outlaws days.
Yeah, because he had fucking Sergeant Slaughter haircut. He looked like he would kick your ass.
This is me coming up. This is me coming up like when Lanigan sees me walking up, and I'm like, I got like my head down, and I look up, and this is what I see. And then there would be times where I'd be doing the interview, and like before I'd finish the interview, he would just walk off, and I'd be like, this sumbitch hates me.
Whatever happened to him?
You know what? He still races a little bit, but he's got a trucking company. He runs some dump trucks and stuff. I went and did a Road Del Dora for him for Dirt on Dirt and Flow
Wasn't
a few
he
years
doing
ago.
the Club 29 for a while?
He had those. He had that, and then he just kind of got out of it. And, he comes to the track, but it's funny now because, like, he laughs and cuts up with me, and I'm like,
is he still in shape like Sergeant Slaughter?
He's in good shape, and, he's still the fastest flat top and all that, and I think he's kind of buzzed now. But...
Okay, talking about old-timers.
Yes.
Equally prepared cars, make it a Longhorn, make it a Rocket, I don't give a fuck, okay? But they're the equally prepared. Don O'Neill, Scott Bloomquist, and Scrub.
Rick Eckert. He's a funny little guy.
Rick Eckert and Lanigan. And so I'm going to make it a short race so that Don doesn't fall out of the seat in an 8-lap dash.
Poor Don.
In an 8-lap dash at East Bay.
Oh, at East Bay.
Now you know that Don. It's Don O'Neill
it's Don.
at East Bay
because Don has put 2 of them out of the ballpark before they get to 2.
Right.
And he's just pedal to the metal. He's sideways, middle back straightaway. He does save 2.0. It's Don.
All right, Eldora.
It's Scott.
Scott. Nobody can beat Scott at Eldora.
Not when it was really clicking. When it was really clicking, and I still don't think he's done there. I'm going to say this. I still think Scott has a couple of great moments in him.
Do you think both of the guys yesterday said no, they didn't think Scott would win another big race? You're on the opposite end of that, where you think Scott could potentially, win something big, win a world, win something like that.
Here's the thing: people have written him off so many times, and I could just see him coming out there, waxing that ass one last time, and not even going to victory lane, going to the scales, clearing the scales, done. And then the legacy becomes even more famous and more legendary and more mysterious.
It becomes more urban legend that he went in, waxed, JD's ass, and hit, obviously, the Eldora scale situation. You got to hit the scales because him and the scales have a relationship.
Tony's going to be here in like 5 minutes, maybe. You could definitely ask him about that.
If you know Tony time.
He doesn't want that. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I think Tony would talk about that.
You think so?
I said, Tony, let's go ahead and pull the curtain back on the that that ended up being a lawsuit. Did you know that? That was a lawsuit.
Allegedly, yeah.
That got settled for whatever reason. But they're good buddies now. I think Flo did a piece with Scott and Tony.
No, they did. And like I said, Tony's he's another guy who's going to tell you exactly what he's thinking, and Scott is too. And I think that's why they respect each other, and greatness respects greatness.
Boy, now tell me that wouldn't be a podcast. Those two characters.
I would listen to that podcast.
Scott Bloomquist and Tony Stewart. Now,
After dark.
Tony has a natural hosting ability. Like, he's a good host. He can host.
Very good.
Fun fact for you, who got Tony his Sirius XM satellite job?
I feel like this is a loaded question. It's probably not going to be Howard Stern. It's probably going to be Bubba,
it's gonna be
the
Bubba
Love Sponge.
Bubba the fucking Love Sponge.
I said sponge, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So, you think does he got a car? Does he have cars at his shop?
I honestly don't know, but I think he could come up with some things.
I mean, he's still a recognized major chassis builder, right? I mean, the Bloomquist cars are the Bloomquist.
Well, they don't really. So Shane McDowell has them, but he kind of builds his own. I don't know that I don't think per se they're making new ones right now in this moment, as far as I know.
No, they're not Capitals, are they?
No, they're not Capitals.
No, I mean, it's like, who owns Clanton?
Shane Clanton and Chad Smith own Capital.
Own Capital. Yeah. And boy, I feel as if there's more chassis wars than I feel like chassis wars are more prevalent now than ever. I like it though. I like a sport where they don't tell you everything that you got to run. That you have. That's what I love about dirt track racing. And. I know you guys are pulling for little Brian Daugherty in Integra, but he, as much as some people have written him off, he's had a pretty damn good speed weeks. Has he not?
Well, I mean Turbo should have won.
Right.
Clay Harris should have won.
Turbo fucked up.
Clay Harris should have won. And the other day, Scott Kaiser tweeted out, "Not dead yet," and I love that. I freaking love that, man.
I mean, a lot of people abandoned Brian, and he's had, by as many people abandoned him standards, he's had a damn good sprint Winter Nationals so far.
Have you ever had Brian in the studio?
Oh, yeah. I've had Brian in all types of situations.
He's okay. This is a family. That's really a family show either, so that's fine.
Well, I mean, it's not like Hogan type deals, but I did take him to
Erica.
I did take him to a Tampa Bay Lightning game one time.
Yeah,
totally VIP, because when I go to those games, I get to park back where the players are, and I walk in that way through that way. And I hired these,
Bragger.
And I had these two strippers with us.
Of course, you did.
It was before I was with and I was might have been single at the time. I don't know where I was. And Brian's like, where are we sitting? I'm like, we're on the glass, bitch. And we have these two strippers with us. And a kid from Pennsylvania just can't really wrap his head around the world that I live in at times.
I don't think any of us can, Bubba.
And we have strippers with us. We're drinking free beers, and we watched the Pittsburgh Penguins get their ass kicked by the Lightning.
It was a good night to be a Tampa resident.
And I think Brian had a great time. But I mean, I'm happy for Brian. Now, obviously Mark has made the switch over to Fox. Has there been a lot of guys make the switch over to Fox? I mean, is it monkeys? It really is monkey see, monkey do.
That's our sport. I don't care if it's late models, mods, or sprint cars. Guys are going to move around to what's hot. And hey, you got to perform, right? So
if RTJ said, let me tell you something, man. One of the reasons why I'm out there dominating is because I paint the inside of my left rear tire pink.
Which he does some nights.
I'm just saying. I put a pink stripe down it right there at where the LM2 is. I put a little pink stripe. Motherfucker, everybody would have a pink stripe on their left rear. Were they not?
1,000,000%.
And so it's funny to see people monkey see and monkey do, and that my next question is, what do you think RTJ's doing? What do you think Bobby Pierce is doing?
I'm just gonna tell you, those kids are good, man. They're just good, and I say kids because I'm old. They're good, and Bobby always had that potential to dominate. he just sometimes, I think his youth and enthusiasm would get him, and he'd catch the wall, knock the deck out, cut a tire down. He's not making those mistakes anymore. And then Ricky is one in anything that's got a motor and some things that don't. You could see that train coming, and there was nobody happier to see Ricky Thornton Jr. get a full-time ride in the late model world than the modified and the stock car world, because they were tired of getting their ass kicked by him. So
he goes to the Dome and runs, I think, an open wheel modified. Did he not?
Yeah, he won it 2 years ago.
Went to the Chili Bowl and almost made the A main, or did make
and
the A main.
Should have won a Tulsa shootout event. And I mean, they're wheelmen, but they got really good teams. They got momentum in their corners. But we've seen guys have amazing years, and then the next year it just doesn't carry over. With Bobby and Ricky, it's carrying over. I mean, hell, Bobby's on his way back from New Zealand, or he might be back now. He went down there and won 2, and now he's coming back up. So I just think everything's clicking. This is a very narrow sport. Brian Shirley told me the other night, we used to be racing for tenths. Now we're racing for thousandths. And if you're just a little bit better, it's everything.
What's your final four? When you whittle it down to the Brownstown, was it at Pittsburgh?
Yeah, you got that, and you got Atomic,
East Bay, Eldora.
Yep.
What? Yesterday, the guys, they pretty much said it was going to be probably close to what it was this year. HUD. Devin, Devin was their fourth guy in, but HUD, JD, RTJ, and then I forget who the fourth one they were talking about. If it wasn't going to be Devin,
well, let's see what McCready does the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think they threw Tim in there. It was. Did you hear?
Heard you call Tim. Yeah.
Turbo's Tim impersonation.
Turbo does a lot of great impersonations. He's a turd, but he is pretty damn funny, and he's good at impersonations.
What's the schedule like at East Bay today? What time do they go out?
I think they good old hot laps. I think 5:30, qualifying right after that, and I think that's the way every day. Pretty much every Speed Week show, they bump back the times at your place, and then we did at Alltech the final night to 6.
Do you know why we bumped
the glare?
Yeah,
the glare.
Because coming out of 4-man at 5:30, you're blind. You're 100% blind, and then the sun sets at 6:04. So me and Tom Bean went to Swally and said, hey, listen, bud, is there any way we can move it back 30 minutes? Not because we're not going to have the track ready, not because of this or that, just simply because at 5:30 you are blind in turn 4. That half an hour, makes a huge difference, and he was super cool about it.
No, I mean, you want to be safe. You want the track to be good. And for Alltech, they didn't want to get in the situation they had the night before, getting out there early. And yeah, but, selfishly, I love 5:30 hot laps. I love being out of there at 9 o'clock, doing the drive home, going to Wawa, and the whole 9 yards.
We did 6 o'clock hot laps, and I think we were out by 9, close to 9.
Well, it was pretty good. I mean, you had your most legendary Thunderstock race of all time.
Right, Jonathan. By the way, if I hear the fucking word Jonathan Appleby and Rich Pratt one more time, I think Mike Rigsby may leave his beautiful wife for both of those.
Well, he's
men.
already got a picture of him, and I call him Chris Pratt, and that pisses Rigsby off. He's like, his name's Rich. They already have a picture that I'm pretty sure is going to replace the wedding photo of Amber and Michael on their mantle at home. So just stand by, guys.
Yeah, he was Michael Rigsby called the Thunderstock race, and Rich Pratt won it one night, and Jonathan Appleby won it the next night. And I guarantee you, these dudes have never had this much exposure, and have a guy like Michael Rigsby.
It was fun.
Mark out to him. What do you think Rigsby's doing right now, this very second?
He's in a meeting right now.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
I feel like I'm calling his secretary.
They had meetings all morning. They had more meetings than me, which is sad.
Meetings? What's to meet about?
Well, you're talking about rights acquisitions. You're talking about staffing, planning. You're talking about, again, man, we got our hands on a lot of stuff, from the Dome to Castrol Flow Racing Night in America.
Which is hosted by you, by the way.
I'm the GM of that. Again, I'm not smart enough to say no to anything. I'm the GM of that series, too. That's why people think I work for Flow, and I don't. I'm just not smart to say no.
You work.
I'm not an
Flow.
employee. I'm a 1099 guy.
You're a independent contractor.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I gotta think they probably pay you pretty good, Ben. I mean, with the combination of
it's not Bubba money, but it's okay.
With the combination of selling out to my race pad.
Sell out sounds bad.
I'm sorry. The acquisition
there we go.
that my race pass made of your company.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that they kept you on because they need you.
They're great people to work with.
Just like when
them.
Rigsby sold, Dirt on Dirt or whatever the hell it was.
Dirt on Dirt.
He stayed with Flow.
Yep.
So they always keep the guy on. So I mean, you're probably doing pretty good. I mean, I know where you live. Doesn't take much to live there. You know,
I
what are you,
okay.
Memphis?
Just outside of Memphis, a little town called Collierville. So when you head east out of Memphis, you get to Germantown, which is where like Sammy Swindell's from, and then you go another 10
Terry
minutes.
Gray?
Terry Gray lives about 15 minutes north of me. Jason Sides, who I just had breakfast with the other day in Lake City, he was getting ready to test at Alltech. He lives about 15 minutes north of me, and then Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is from about 20 minutes south of me.
You know, we were the very first show that had Henry Rollins on, the Henry Rollins, and when he was first starting the support of the West Memphis Three.
Yeah.
And before Pearl Jam and before all these real sexy rockers got involved in the defending of Damien Eccles and these
Jesse Miskelly and those kids,
yes, they Henry Rollins was at the very forefront of all of that, and we used our show when we were syndicated throughout America to try to get people's attention onto this that was a fucked up situation. I mean, and are you from that area?
Yeah,
so
you
got to be really entrenched into that story.
Well, the racetrack I grew up at in West Memphis, Arkansas, literally that all happened about 5 minutes from there. That Sherwood Force, whatever they called it, and I was a kid, and I can remember I was like 14, 15 years old, maybe 13. We're coming home from the Show Me 100 when it was still in West Plains, and we didn't even know what had happened, and we're starting to get back, and you're hearing all this news about it, and that was
and you know what? Those kids didn't do that, and they got basically railroaded for being rockers, having a Metallica T-shirt on, and kind of being a
Hell Yeah wrote a song about it. Chad Gray with Hell Yeah, they wrote a song, West Memphis Free, is what it was called. So,
one of them was on. Was it Damien Eccles that was on death row?
Yes.
Actually, I mean, they could have, and they did they ever find out who did it?
They don't. There's been a lot of documentaries and a lot of theories, but to my knowledge, they've not. And, as far as I know, all those, they're not kids anymore. They're men. They're all out of prison.
But they had to cut a real fucked up, shady deal with the state of Arkansas, where they would admit that, like, the state of Arkansas worded it so that they can get out of jail, but they couldn't hold the state of Arkansas liable for the amount of years that they didn't get a clean, exoneration. They got some kind of fucked up
and
deal.
Released. Which, if you're in prison, man, sign me up right now. Get me out, whatever I got.
Well, hold on, prison. How about fucking death row?
Yeah,
and that's a whole other deal. Do you know what saved them? A forensic. See if you know the last. If you see, I'm setting you up for it. There was a guy. There was a expert, and he's called a forensic
pathologist or
odontologist.
Oh no, I had the wrong ologist.
A forensic odontologist, and they took the bite marks on the back of the victim's back, and they tried and they matched. They could not. None of the bite marks matched any three of the dudes, and that was one of the contributing factors that they used to prove they're innocent. Was a forensic odontologist, which is an expert of bite marks. You didn't know that, did you? Right in your own right in your own backyard.
I did it. The fact that have all this knowledge of forensics of bite marks bothers me, but that's cool. You be you, dude.
A lot of people don't realize that there was three dudes. There were three kids. Like, what were they? 16, 17 when it happened. 15, 16, 17.
They were young, and then you had these other little boys. It was a terrible deal, dude.
And it was and they
HBO did those documentaries on it,
And so they caught these three dudes. They were like, they like smoke cigarettes and like listen to heavy metal, like most white trash in fucking Arkansas does. Just whatever. And this girl gets raped and disappears. And they pin it on these three guys, and these three dudes end up spending, 15 years, 10 to 15 years in prison, one of which was named Damien Eccles, and they blamed him as the main dude, and the other two accessories.
Well, you added rape and our girl in there. This was about the three little boys that got murdered.
That's what I meant.
Big difference, man.
I'm so sorry. I was thinking about a case in Tampa. No, there was three little boys who got murdered, and they blamed it on these three dudes. And these three dudes really, honestly, they didn't do it. They didn't do it. But the community needed to, it was such a heinous crime that the community needed to put it on somebody. And it's a very, very famous story. If you're not familiar with it, Google West Memphis 3. And like Ben said, there's been so many different
actors and musicians. Because they immediately were like, something doesn't seem right.
Matthew McConaughey got involved. And
I'm not sure about him, but I know these others. It's a black eye for our community. But Yeah, that terrible thing. But yes, that long story short, the area I live in, I'm about.
Like, how far away were you from where that happened?
When that literally is right along the Mississippi River as you go west into Arkansas. I'm about 40 minutes from the bridge on the far east side, so of the county that Memphis is in Shelby County. So yeah, I live there. I'm not home very often, but when I am, I
is it a good place to live?
It's like anywhere, dude. There's areas of Tampa you don't go to, right?
Well, no, I go to all of them.
Okay, well, never mind. Uh-oh, who are we dialing? Oh, no, this worries me. Who are we calling? This bothers me.
Yeah, I should. Especially if you talk crap about his track.
I didn't see what had happened was.
Well, we got...
Whoever it is, don't answer, please.
It's Tony Stewart.
Oh, he's definitely not answering.
Oh, he's going to answer my phone.
He's definitely not answering. He's like
where
this
in the
Bubba will
hell?
not leave me alone. Yeah, he's not answering.
Yeah, by the fourth ring, you're not getting an answer.
Yeah, you haven't got forwarded to voicemail yet, though. You ain't got that few buttons.
Here comes the voicemail right now.
No?
Your call has been forwarded to
there
voicemail.
it is.
The
Bye.
person you're trying to reach is not available. At the tone,
Be
please
great if it's
record your
full.
message.
Voice box
when you
full.
have finished recording, you may hang
Sure
up.
it is. Smoke! It's Bubba. We're on the air with, Ben Shelton. You know Ben Shelton. Does he know you, Ben?
We're aware of each other. I work at his track.
And from Flow Racing, and we were, you're supposed to be here by 1:30, but I understand we're on Tony time, which could be closer to 2:30, maybe not even showing up at all. But we're trying to promote your badass drag racing event, sponsored by, I think, my good friend Randy from Skag. I think it's called like the Skag, the Flow Racing Skag Pro shootout or something like that. And like NHRA scrimps, and they give you like $50,000 if you win funny cars or something like that. They're throwing, I think they're throwing $250,000 at both dragsters and funny cars, and then a $150 or a $125 to pro stock. And you're supposed to be on my studio right now promoting this fine event, Tony Anthony Stewart. So get your ass over here immediately. Appreciate you. I always like to listen to myself.
I also like that you just explained to him what his event was on his voicemail.
Yeah, he likes that.
That was entertaining.
Well, it lets him know that I know what the fuck's going on around here. So let's break down Speed Weeks. First night, Golden Isles. Golden Isles, I think was okay. It latched down the second night. People started blowing tires, and that is for a track promoter. I know Steve. He just got the place.
He's busting his ass up.
He really is.
He really is.
And listen, this is not a track owner that's trying to say another bad thing about a track owner, because I feel you, Steve. Trust me. As a track owner, people don't realize how much pressure are on us and how the weather is involved, and it's just, we try our best. You think we want to put a fucking track out there that latches down? No. I mean, rubber on a dirt track's like kid touching. Like, it's the worst thing ever. And so
that was quite the analogy, but go ahead.
It is. It's the kid touching of dirt racing. Rubber and down is like the kid touching of dirt racing. So they did their best, and it is what it is. And we all of us track owners learn from when we met the track's not prepared correctly. Then they come to my place. Have one.
To be fair, both nights at Golden Isles, they had the one night where it took some rubber, but they also were battling rain coming in.
Yeah, they battled weather. They battled the conditions. First of all, they had beautiful, as far as ambient temperature weather, the best ever.
Yep.
Like it was like fucking June, but very soggy, and that makes for a very difficult way to prepare a track. But our winners out of there were what? HUD and RTJ?
Yes, sir.
HUD and which it might be an ongoing theme, I think, for.
We've seen a lot of that this year.
Yeah. So then they come to my place.
Yep.
And we have practice on Sunday, which went excellent. No, practice on Monday. And then we race Tuesday, Wednesday. Tuesday, man, I had the fucking track dialed in. It was great. It was great racing. It went down to the final, third of a lap. RTJ got Turbo right there at the end. Turbo kind of messed up. And in 1, 2, 3 was RTJ, Turbo, and Devin, which Turbo and Devin are best buddies. So that went good. Second night, I made a mistake at 5:30. I threw water in turn on the low side of turn 1 and 2, which then the sun set, and now I'm too wet. So I will go on record, and I'm not saying anything bad about Swally. I love Swally. I think his wife's far cooler, Ashley.
Ashley's amazing. Rick's average, but Ashley's amazing.
Yeah, Rick's average at best, a C, but Ashley's at least an A, maybe A minus, because she's with Swally.
Oh, that's brutal.
I'm just kidding. But I will go on record by saying, if anybody listened to the radio traffic, I asked Swally, let me do something. Let me do something on Wednesday night. Let me till up this bacon strip. Let me till up this. That's what we call little black strips, bacon strips. Let me till up this bacon strip. Let me throw a little water on it. He said no. Still ended up having a pretty good night. A lot of people think it rubbered up, but it didn't rubber. I mean, Ben will tell you it didn't rubber. There was no tire wear. It just greased over after this very long caution. Winners are RTJ, Hudson O'Neal.
There's a pattern.
There's a pattern. Then we go to Alltech. First night, I feel for Wendell, man. He had 15. I had the same thing. He had 15-mile-an-hour winds and sun beating down all day. Like unreasonably and unseasonably hot and windy, and it caught him by surprise. It ended up latching down after qualifying, but they regrouped and end up having a really racy.
The feature was great.
Very racy feature, and that's what people remember is the feature.
Yep.
And then Saturday night was a racy feature too. The track kind of Wendell was like, listen, I'm not going to get caught with with my pants down. I'm going to till it up. I'm going to water it. It was juiced and it was good. And so and that leads us to the 5 nights remaining left in East Bay. They'll get 6 races in on 5 nights. And this is the last hurrah for one of the most legendary tracks in Florida, and been established in 1972. I think this is the 38th, 39th, or 40th running of the Winter Nationals.
48, Bubba. 48. You were close.
48. The Stanley Colin owned it before Al did, and it's just been a tradition for such a long time. And all the big boys, my track did 42 cars, Alltech did 50 cars, and Al's going to do 70 cars, and it's going to be awesome. How'd the track practice on Sunday?
From what I heard, it was pretty good. Again, I wasn't out there before.
Were you Hotel Willie? Poolside Jones?
No, remember, I was Concert Jones. Come on, man.
Oh, that's right.
Come on, man.
And Ybor? Was it in Ybor?
What?
Where was the concert?
No, it was at Sunday night was at Hard Rock.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good venue.
You guys took a ballroom and turned it into a concert venue, but it rocks out. It holds about 2,500 people.
Let me tell you something. Hard Rock is fucking badass.
Yeah, that casino's great.
A little salty on some pricing there.
Well, hey, man, it's 2024, dude. Everything's salty. So.
And so tonight will be the first night of racing. You're saying hot laps at 5:30.
Yes, sir.
Who do you like for tonight? Now, you're going to have to take a couple things in consideration. Track's wet.
Yep.
Track's wet, so we're not going to probably have to deal with rubber or dry because there's no better way to water your track than Mother Nature.
There's not, but you don't know about the tide there. The tide is whether you agree or not.
I know. I raced there for years.
Whether you agree or not, it's a factor there, right?
If the tide's in, you're dry. You're wet. If the tide's out, you're naturally dry. And listen, some people think that that's the biggest bunch of bullshit, but it is dead on. That track changes with the tide because it's in such close proximity to the ocean, right?
Yeah, it does. It does. So tonight, man, I love these little fast features, 30 laps or whatever. I think Huddy's going to win tonight, man. But Rigsby thinks Turbo's going to win tonight. I think it's going to be Huddy tonight. And then it'll be interesting. Some of these Lucas guys might sit out, at least until tomorrow because their points don't start back up till Thursday. So I'm going to be watching them. Devin's always good.
Who do you think sits out? JD?
Maybe RTJ. He doesn't love it. Now, JD told me that he was planning to probably run them all at East Bay. That he didn't think that he's ever raced beginning of the week. And I don't know if that's true or not, but that he would probably run them all.
Do you think JD's a little freaking out right now?
Why?
I mean, talking about Jonathan Davenport. Well, he's usually by now, you're talking 3 tracks in, by now had a better showing.
He won one Speed Week show last year. You know where he won that at?
East Bay?
No.
Volusia?
Come on, man.
No, my place.
Yes.
Yes, you're right.
God.
You know what? I don't think
man.
he likes me.
Well,
I don't. Will you do me a favor?
I will ask him. He will be honest.
I know he will.
He will be honest.
Will
with
you
me.
say, hey, listen, I was on Bubba's show today, and he thinks that you hate him.
Well, you're assuming that these guys like me too. So yeah.
Well, I think that everybody likes you. I mean,
no, not really. And,
well, you know why?
rightfully so.
Do you know why? Because if they're having interaction with you, chances are they may have won.
Fair.
Right?
Or they have just had the most spectacular crash in the history of flips down the back
Well,
straightaway.
they've done something.
They've been spectacular one way or the other.
Right.
So,
so to be interviewed by you means that they've done something.
Or we're trying to fill a lot of time because there's track prep happening. It's one of the two.
Yeah, boy, and as a promoter / owner, you want to talk about getting your ass chewed when you're taking too much to Swally will get on there and be like, Swally to Bubba. It's Bubba. What are we looking at here? And realistically, I probably got 20 minutes. Yep. I always half it.
Yep.
About 12 minutes, Rick. Maybe 10, 12 minutes, and I know I got a straight 25 on me. But you gotta lie. You gotta lie.
It's better to beg for forgiveness than ask for permission. Just remember that.
Hey, it's as uncomfortable and as much as it sucked for Alltech to have to rework it, they did the right thing.
1,000,000% the right decision.
They absolutely made the right decision. For those that bitch, go ahead and bitch. You would have bitched harder had they done nothing. One, tires wouldn't have survived it. Right. But two, in whatever they did, made it racy as hell.
You know what?
And it ended up being a really good race.
The drivers deserved it, and the fans that paid hard-earned money. Money's hard to come by. We all know that. They deserve a good show. And it was unfortunate that but Wendell did the 1,000,000% right thing, and it was a great show.
All he did was till. I think he just tilled. Didn't even lay water down.
Yeah, that place is like it's like on Mars. Like that dirt reacts nowhere else, or soil, whatever you want to call it, reacts nowhere else. Anywhere else you would have had to water it. But
you gotta water because tilling usually dries it right on out.
You know what else you got to do?
Pack it.
Well, you got to go to the racetrack. I got to go there here in a few minutes, Bubba.
Yeah, I was trying to hold on.
Rigsby's going to be upset. I think Smoke is going to be mean to you. I really do.
God damn you, Smoke! I wanted to surprise you by having him in here because that would have been a great dynamic.
It would have been fun
because we could have flanked him with some Eldora stuff. And all that kind of stuff.
He came up to me at Eldora, one of the events last year, and he walked up and he was like, "How long does it take you to get that hair right?" And I told him it was a toupee, and he told me I was full of shit.
It's not a toupee. Let's just go on. But like,
could be.
Do you? Okay. I use this one blue gel and
that you use on the racetrack too. It's the same stuff that turned Bloomquist tires blue.
Yeah, the same shit. The soil surfactant that I use on my track, I use on my hair. What is this? Do you have a special? Is it a Paul Mitchell product? Is it what?
It's I use like this.
Are you gonna give us your secret?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it away. I mean, because I'm old. I don't have much time
How do you
left.
get the whole you got the line, you got the separation?
Now the line, I got a girl. She cuts that in for me, but
okay.
she cuts the hard part in.
So do you wash it and then do you kind of TP it up a little bit?
Yeah, you just wash it, a little towel dry, and then I get some Old Spice pomade or paste is what it's called. Work it in, and then
boy, you work it the fuck in. I think you work it in, then you might Healy arc it, and I mean it's hard.
I solder it sometimes just to get it right, but it's all good.
I mean, it's harder than Golden Isles on Saturday night. I'm telling you that. I mean, you want to talk about latch down taking rubber? That's your hair, my friend.
I don't even know what you're doing here. I don't know who you're offending more. Probably Golden Isles more than me. So yes.
Golden Isles just called and said, "Hey, fuck you on Ben Shelton's hair analogy."
Yeah, Steve Stevenson's waiting in the parking lot for you,
like,
Bubba.
I mean, I was good with everything until you fucking compared me to Ben Shelton's hair.
Yeah, like we got to have some standards, brother.
So anyway, listen, Flow Racing.
Yes.
Now let's not forget real quick. Let's throw a little plug in for Tony's drag racing deal because I think it's a Flow deal too, right?
Yeah. We're actually a bunch of us are going down there Friday morning. Devin and Turbo are going down there, and yeah, it's a big time deal down there. And admittedly, I know just about drag racing to be dangerous, but this still's got a lot of eyeballs on it.
Have you ever been there one before?
Never been to Bradenton, no sir.
I mean, have you ever been to a drag race?
Oh yeah, we used to have an HRA in Memphis. I would go every year at an HRA.
And so
Clay Milliken's a good friend of mine that they're from the Memphis area that races in HRA.
And so like if a person has never been to one of these, you cannot
the sound and the speed
television or television, not being there, but just television, you cannot appreciate the thunder or the violence, how violent this is, and how you're like, how can a human being withstand that many G's of violence and not fucking kill themselves. I think Selzy once said it's like 4.5 or 5 G's leaving, but it's 6 or 7 G's when they throw the chutes.
Yeah.
Do you know it's more? It's more when they throw the chutes.
Well, and the most though, Clay Milliken told me, I was at his shop a year or two ago, and they run black boxes on those cars, and he'd had a tire shake at like Englishtown or something, and he said that for like just a nano of a second, he experienced something stupid, like 15 G's, and he's like, you want to talk about having the worst vertigo and just wanting to vomit for days on end when you experience that.
Not only that, but I mean, you have to think that I might die.
Well,
I mean, something's coming apart that might kill me.
You're moving at 340 and things go bad. Yeah, it's not good. And no, it's unreal. I love drag racing. I always used to say that when those top fuel cars stage up and they take off, that the only thing close to it
would be an orgasm.
Is a little bit of loving. Yeah,
a little bit of orgasm.
A little bit of loving. So yeah, check it out. And it's really cool. A whole nother element to Speed Weeks now with what Bradenton's got going on down there.
Oh, hold on. Tony is here. So you could do 10 minutes. You can do.
I can do 10. Well, I got to text Rigsby and tell him and Dustin Jarrett got to do race day. Is that fair?
Well, we can even call them.
Oh, you know they're not answering.
We can.
Oh wait, they're leaving late. Oh, how far is it to the track from here?
25 minutes.
Okay, I'm gonna tell them
that Tony just walked in, and you would be remiss as a spokesperson for Flo to walk out on a guy that's in the fucking Hall of Fame. I mean, for real. I mean, if we're just gonna lay it all out like that, it would be remiss for Flo Racing not to get this opportunity to speak to this man.
You are working it right now. You're working this thing. I'm texting. I'm telling him that I'm going to be late. Fair?
Yeah, absolutely. And I, you know who could even text him even more and tell him? Tony.
You know what would be great? You know, I don't think he'll answer, but if Tony gets in here, we'll let him bust Rigsby's balls. We can try to dial Rigsby up.
I heard there was. Does Tony not like Rigsby?
No, they like each other.
Do they not get along?
Well, I mean, as much as as you can like each other in this sport.
Right. I mean, and not all dirt track owners like you guys, because you guys do say it like it is. And when it's rough, it's rough. And when we rubber, we rubber. And when we fuck it up, we fuck it up. And you guys call us out on it, especially on that fucking drive home shit that
you love. But you loved it the other night because we were nice to you.
Man, have you guys broke 1,000 yet?
On the views? Not
live. Yeah, because I know you guys are flirting with it. Like you're 800, 820.
Yeah, not this year, but we might do it tonight. East Bay final week. Hey guys, Tony Stewart has actually entered the building.
Let's get him. Let's get him in here now.
Smoke, you didn't even answer when Bubba tried to call you. I told him he isn't coming. I said he's not coming.
Son
now.
of a bitch.
There's a very logical reason for that.
What's that?
My phone is sitting in the motorhome.
Oh, that's a good reason.
That's a good. Responsible adult stuff.
Where's the Tony Stewart that I know? Responsible adult and Tony Stewart does never go hand in hand. Come on now.
No.
You do. You look. I got to tell you, you look good, buddy.
I appreciate that.
You look good. I know you.
He didn't tell me that, Tony. So take it as a compliment. I didn't get that. Ben Shelton was trying to leave, and I'm like, listen, motherfucker, you're gonna His
tell
exact words.
You're gonna tell Flo that you had an opportunity to have a few moments with Tony Stewart, Hall of Famer, all kinds of, you guys go to his track, and you're gonna leave early and not get a few words in with Tony. You go ahead and report that back to Flo and get back to me how that works out for you.
He was threatening me, Tony.
I 100% believe that. I mean, there's nothing unrealistic about that.
He calls you a friend, Tony, but then when you're not in here, you're a son of a bitch, and you're all these things. He just rolled over on you like that.
You are such a liar. Because
roll the tape. We got the tape.
No, bitch, I'll tell you right now, because on the road to Eldora, you didn't do the interview, but Rigsby did the interview, and we just did it last.
Rigsby under the bus.
We just did the interview, and it was road to Eldora, and they got me at my track on turn 3, and they go, tell us about Eldora. And I said, what is Eldora? Is the crown jewel of the sport. I said, I don't know if Tony lucked into it by buying it, but Earl certainly sold it to the guy that was going to keep the prestigiousness and keep it, moving in the right direction. Tony has made. I said, who else? And I kind of messed up because I know Tony's upgraded since then. I go, who else can get the Dallas Cowboys hand-me-down jumbotron? Only Tony Stewart can, buddy. And so Tony, if anybody would say anything less than Eldora being the absolute crown jewel mecca of our sport, then at this point you're just not being intellectually honest.
Wow. That's quite the compliment.
And he didn't even pay me for that.
How do you even respond to that, Tony?
What more do you need to say at that point?
It gets a little rough.
What's next on the script, Bubba? What do you got next?
Well, we're going to talk about what Tony got going on.
Well, I thought you were going to compliment him some more. Tony wants to hear what else you got.
Well, he's lost about 15 pounds. He's getting ready to get
Let's
into
go.
Come on,
he's getting ready to get
25,
in,
baby, 25.
He's getting ready to get into
That's
a
hard.
dragster.
Respect.
He's getting ready to get into a dragster, a real one, not an alcohol, but a real one. And his wife's going to have a baby one of these days. And things are about as good for him as they ever have been. Because I've seen Tony at some of his not so cool moments, just like he's seen me at some of my not so cool moments, and he's kicking ass right now.
Yeah, that's part of it. he pretty much has a pretty good handle on what's going on.
I do have a handle coming on, and
except for the part where he said the alcohol car wasn't really a big deal.
Well, yeah,
he hasn't been in one. That's all that tells me.
I can't fit. I can't fit. Please. Well, I'd have to have like a double seater to get in one. You know,
you're not back in the towel and ass days. I think you're getting closer. Lose another 50, and Tony, Tony's put you on his diet.
Racing does not. I do not deserve. Listen, Tony knows I do not deserve to be in a race car. The last time I raced for Tony, I almost killed myself, and I just need to be a loudmouth. I need to be a loudmouth radio guy, exactly what I am, and leave racing to the guys like him. And things like that. I do not deserve to be in a race car.
But you at least made the effort. You tried.
I did try. Now you're giving me a participation trophy.
Well, it's other than the time that you were at Chili Bowl and you were about 20 feet in the air and you had both your arms sticking through the top of the cage waving to the crowd.
You went big. Went big.
So listen to this, Shelton. So I flipped my ass off. I'd never driven a midget, so I didn't know when the front end was coming up that you're supposed to kind of feather it out a little bit. I always drove like a 360 where the wing would keep you down, right? So my front end starts getting a little bit light. I'm like, I'm just going to keep mashing the gas here. Well, I do a blow over. I flip a lot.
Blow over.
I flip. And so I get out, I waddle my ass out of the car, and there's Tony in the team four-wheeler. And so I walk over there, and he goes, "You okay, bud?" I go, I still got my helmet on. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay." He goes, I go to unstrap my helmet, and Tony goes, "Hey, bud, do me a favor. Keep your helmet on so people can't see how stupid you look right now." I said, okay. And he goes, you were doing good until you ran out of talent, kid. And I don't know if this car is even fixable for you to be in the Double J main, but we'll see what we can do for you.
It was fixable, but I'm going to tell you right now, behind the scenes, they were not going to fix it, though.
I think they did, but I think they maybe cut out 2 cylinders on me or something like that.
Tony, what's the scoop?
Yeah, you might be spot on that. We were all like, yeah, we do. Because when I asked him if he was all right, he answered, and I'm like, yeah, the light's on, but nobody's home here.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I was like,
that was before he got in the car. After he flipped, it was that much worse.
And so I literally walked. I got out of the four-wheeler and walked into the hauler, still having my helmet on because Tony mandated it. He wanted me to represent his house.
That's all right. I'd come stay at his house down here and walk in there, and he'd have a helmet on, walking around the house too. So
just
reliving the glory days.
Oh, the glory days. Bubba's Bed, Bath, and Way Beyond. Oh my God.
Bubba's Bath and Way Beyond.
Tony, we can't even talk about those things, buddy, my
definitely
friend.
not. Definitely not.
Anyway, Tony's in town, not because he's supporting his 15 Donnie Schatz, World Outlaw sprint car, not because he's, I don't even know that you're going to make it over to Daytona, are you, bud?
I am. We're here this week. We've got Leah's running her last race before she goes into mommy mode and racing at the pro event in Bradenton. And then I test next week, 500 week at Gainesville on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And then
for the Gators.
Then I'm carrying over to Daytona Saturday night for a dinner and then be at the Daytona 500 on Sunday.
How's SHR looking for the 5? How you guys feel about the 500?
Too early to tell, honestly. I think those guys really won't have an idea till after they run the qualifying race where they feel like whether they have speed or not and whether they pull up good in the draft or not. So
have you had them on the 7 post shakers and wind tunnels and all? Have all that been done already?
Well, yeah, the 7 post deal we all can do. The wind tunnels, it's all dictated by manufacturers now. So NASCAR did a rule where Ford gets so many hours of wind tunnel time. Chevy gets so many hours of wind tunnel time. Toyota gets so many hours. And so it's all dictated and it's all broke up and fragmented. It's kind of a screwed up deal, to be perfectly honest. But it's...
now, do NHRA, are they wind dependent at all? As fast as the event is, 3 to 4 seconds in the divisions that we're talking about, are they as wind or aero dependent as a NASCAR?
I would say absolutely.
You ever seen that? You ever seen that spoiler come off a top fuel car? You see what happens next. It goes ugly really fast.
Super ugly.
And funny cars, man, their whole back half is all spoiler. Like it's all spoiler, right?
Yeah, and if you look at photos from about 8-10 years ago, I mean, it had a real big scorpion tail on the back to get a lot of downforce, and now the bodies make good enough downforce that they really don't have to run a lot of wicker in the back. They got big sideboards on the back, but really not a lot of flap back there. So it's pretty impressive to see what the funny cars can do. Those things, it's like driving a wing sprint car with the wing all the way back in the trunk. The further out it gets, the lighter the front end gets, and it's like that's why you'll see funny car guys get in the wall or cross to the center line and hit a cone. Just the front end gets light. So they've had to. NHRA did a really good job of mandating angle in the headers. Guys were really figuring out if they laid the headers back, the angle of the pipes, they got more thrust, and it made for a better ET and mile an hour. And but NHRA was savvy enough to get involved. Once guys were hitting more cones and hitting more walls, figured out the guys couldn't drive them, so put an angle rule into it to give it downforce with the pipes and the thrust instead of just forward thrust. And that made the cars a lot more drivable.
When you got a division like the funny cars or the nitro dragsters, and I don't think they're, this might be kind of hitting home for you a little bit, other than a magneto rule maybe. I don't know that there is a cubic inch or a head or an injection. I don't know that there are engine rules, are there?
There are.
I mean, 'cause I thought it was just fucking bolt on the biggest, baddest son of a bitch that won't blow up and go. That's what it looks like to me.
Well, there's rules with timing and stuff of how far you can go with timing and this and that, but they're all 500 cubic inch motors. And,
right.
There's header width rules, there's header angle rules. The magneto deal is kind of a screwed up deal anyway, because once it goes from the mag through the point box, it doesn't have the power that it has straight out of the mag. So they got to have rules in place for all that stuff, but it's not near as much scrutiny as IndyCar and NASCAR go through. I mean, they go through those cars with a fine tooth comb. It's a lot more enjoyable in NHRA because they've got rules in place, but it's not like every time you go through there you got to disassemble half of your race car to go through tech.
I mean, NASCAR has just gotten out of control now. I mean, they have laser beams and I've heard, and I'm not saying anything bad about NASCAR, so I don't want anybody to misconstrue that I'm saying anything about NASCAR. I can just feel the frustration with some of the owners and things. I've been told that literally you can't even really fabricate any of your own parts. You have to bolt on what they send you. Like it's gotten to that kind of point.
Yeah, and the hard part is some of the parts you buy just don't even fit. And don't even fit the tolerances. So the tolerances and standard quality control that we have as teams in NASCAR are way tighter than the manufacturers that are making the body panels and the under trays and the exhaust boxes, all that stuff. All those things, their tolerances are way wider than what ours are. So they've got some catching up, but it's like we don't really get much help on that standpoint from the manufacturers. That they just their response is we'll just buy another part,
right?
And hopefully that one will fit.
So Tony Stewart in the studio for a little bit, Ben Shelton here for just a little bit longer. I want to promote Tony's big event that's happening, and I think my buddy, I became very, very good friends with Randy from Skag. Did you know that, Tony?
I did.
I'm his buddy.
That's a good buddy to know.
And he is really good for the sport, is he not? He is just a good dude.
He's done an amazing job with NHRA and getting involved, and he just keeps up in the support of it. It's he fell in love with it as well. A lot of us have, and once you go to an NHRA event, for the first time, you will understand why you will fall in love with it.
You fell in love with the driver and the sport.
I got a 2-for-1 special at the drive-thru.
And I'm not trying to kiss ass because I've only been around your wife 3 or 4 times, but she tolerates me and she understands me.
That's a lot.
It's the first girlfriend that you've ever had that I think actually might like me a little bit. Let's be realistic about this. She even likes me. Well, I mean, yeah.
That in itself is an accomplishment.
You've been given some ultimatums. It's him or me a couple times, and I got the short end of the stick on that deal. I'm just telling you. But
and you didn't judge him for it, Bubba. You didn't.
No, I never judged Tony. He's my boy.
No, not him, the woman. You didn't judge her.
Oh, the hell I didn't. That Mexican can go pack sand. I'm just telling you that right now.
Wow.
That's all I'm saying. I'm keeping it clear from there on back. And the one before her, too, can pack sand, too. It's not me, it's them.
He's getting fired up again.
There's a lot of sand being
There's
packed
a lot of
around
sand.
here.
We got more sand in the Indiana sand dunes than Monticello, Indiana.
Hey, so I got a question. Bigger thrill.
Yeah, let's do a little Eldora talk
well,
here.
hang on. I got a question. So bigger thrill, taking off from pit road at the Indy 500, like you made a pit stop and you're accelerating, or when that Christmas tree drops green in that alcohol funny car, when it launches, which is more of an adrenaline rush to you? You think?
No doubt the dragster.
Yeah.
Because you're really accelerating with the pit stop at Indy. When you leave, you're on cold tires. You're not up to speed, so you don't have a lot of downforce, and you're on the warm up lane, the apron, which is flat as a pancake.
Right.
So you got to be aggressive leaving the pits, but you've got to be on your toes, and it's not like you're just wide open in first shift, wide open in second shift. You're really being smooth when you leave pit road.
And that drag car, you're sitting there and you're basically holding a handbrake. That throttle's wide open. When that goes, you let go and it takes off, right? I don't think a lot of people realize that. It's not like when it goes green, you mash. You basically let go of that trans brake or whatever it is,
and it's gone.
You launch.
So the Top Fuel dragster just has a handbrake.
Just a handbrake.
So
I got you.
You're literally, when you go to stage, you're feathering the clutch out till you get the pre-stage bulb, the top half lit, and then you push the clutch in. Kind of pump the brake again. And when you're ready to fully stage, then you literally step off the clutch. And basically what it feels like is if you put a car with an automatic transmission, when you put it in gear, it's going to start pulling.
Yeah.
Right.
So with the dragster and the funny cars.
Now, are you really putting a lot of handbrake in it to keep it back?
Yes. Yeah, you got to hold it back.
Is that why your right arm's getting so big nowadays?
It's
There it is.
There it is.
Don't arm wrestle Tony on the right anymore because he's been holding back.
Well, no, my right arm's getting stronger. I had shoulder surgery in the off season on my left arm, and that was my dominant arm.
Right?
Fair, yeah.
So now I've
you be
bulked up
considerate,
my right
Bubba.
side.
The man had surgery. Damn.
Oh, I know. I mean, I don't mess with him.
He doesn't mess with me after I've had surgery.
I don't think anybody messes with you.
I
Tony.
wrestled him one time, and I kicked his ass one time in New York City when they all jumped on me one day. I kicked a whole and two tire crew's ass.
Before you came in, he also claimed that he kicked Tyler Erb's ass. So there's a lot of ass kicking that people can't defend themselves.
I can't. Hold on. Listen, Ben Sheldon, you're going to see everybody today and the next
Eventually,
day. You're going to who won? Who won between Turbo and Bubba Clem? Who won? And the only two people that saw it were, I think, Devin Moran was there, and I think maybe Brian Shirley might have seen it. But I whipped his ass. I had him in
two solid references right there.
That's two solid. They're probably both going to say Tyler won. So I will get back to you.
So listen, bitch, when you hear back.
That's the second bitch in 10 minutes.
When you hear back that Bubba had him in a full-blown bear hug, ready to take him down, Warsaw, Indiana style, you're going to give me my proper due.
Wait, let me make sure I understand the story correctly. When he was getting ready to take him down, or you took him down?
Yeah, it's a big difference.
We're right there at turn one, and where all the racers gather at my track, and Tyler says something like, "Man, Bubba, look like you're getting kind of solid," or something like that. And, did you used to wrestle? And I go, "Yeah, I used to wrestle." And he goes, "Well, so did I. Let's go." So I said, "Okay, let's go." So I get my little stance, and I immediately slap him inside the head, like bam, because that's what you do. You try to distract the guy.
Duly noted.
And then at that point, I grab his right wrist. Well, I pull his right wrist. Well, if you know anything about wrestling, as soon as you pull your right wrist, you pull back, and you automatically are giving your guy the left wrist. And I arm drug him and got behind him, and that's where it stopped. But I had my head so buried deep into his chest that my glasses broke and caused I got a little cut on my nose, and I started bleeding, and we had to stop the event because I was bleeding. So
you lost by default.
I guess I was the bleeder in the deal.
We got a bleeder.
I was in better position.
Probably wore a pair of glasses that were sketched to begin with.
He probably did. It was staged.
They were fatheads, man. They were fatheads.
Get him out.
Rico fatheads, buddy.
They actually were remote controlled, Tony. He blinked and somebody hit it from over there, and he's like, "I'm bleeding. I'm done." So the first time you go up and you do the true launch, you've done a lot of cool shit. You've done sprint cars, midgets, Indy cars.
He's done it all.
Does it almost scare you that first time when you feel that the first time?
He was scared.
Absolutely, no doubt.
Real seriously,
no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, I've ran 20 runs in a Top Fuel car now. I ran the entire season in the alcohol car, which was about 75 runs last year. and
did well
I'm
too.
still scared.
Should have won the damn
No-
thing. Got
no
screwed.
joke.
Yeah, we should have. I
Got
mean,
screwed.
we just kind of fell off a little bit at the end of the
you got
season and
screwed.
missed things a little bit.
Is that what feeds you though? Are you always looking for that next thing that's going to give you that little bit of speed wise to
Not
scare
necessarily.
you? No,
It's
no.
not the speed that feeds me. I mean,
He found what he's been looking for.
I get
And
excited
she's hot
about
as
going
hell.
to Fort
Tell you
Wayne.
that right now.
Yeah.
Hey,
Hey,
I've been
Bubba,
to
we're having an interview down here, Bubba. If you could hang tight, that'd be great.
Shut up.
So-
You don't know anything about Fort Wayne and the Rumble with the Munchkin bitch. You never been there like I have.
That's
when we
three
stay
bitches
when
in
we
12
stay, when we
minutes that
stay
have
at
been
the
dropped on
shady
me.
ass Ramada Inn and Tony closes the bar down and buys drinks for everybody. You don't know anything about being
I'm now a
You're
three-time
not
bitch
a
champion.
Hoosier. You're not a Hoosier.
I'm a
You're
volunteer.
an Arkansasian.
No, that Tennessee definitely not
It's
Arkansas.
even worse. You might have had relations with somebody that's related to you. Us Hoosiers, on the other hand, we're salt of the earth, my friend.
Salt.
So
Oh,
yeah,
that's
Tony
salt.
gets excited about going to the
salt
Rumble.
everything.
you do.
Tony
No,
gets
it's
excited
it's
about going
not
to the
about
Rumble.
the speed though. In all honesty,
Is it
it's,
not?
It's literally about you look at all the different forms of motorsports I've been a part of. It's literally about trying. I've enjoyed trying new things, and you always get the people to say, he won't be successful in this. He won't figure this
Yeah.
out. And then you figure it out, and you
The
go win a
challenge.
couple races.
Yeah.
You
and-
can say
I
that
get
about
it.
some
Add
racers.
that
They
to your
can't say that
resume.
about you, buddy.
Get that.
So I think that's the fun of it for me, is just trying to do different things. And it's not like I search them out, but all these are just unique opportunities that have presented themselves. And next thing you know, you're trying something different. You're like, wow, this is cool. And like I say, it's fun to learn a different discipline. But I would say the NHRA with the dragster, it is like Fantasy Island. It's off on its own little island to the right, where everything
Yeah.
else, whether it was late models, sprint cars, Indy cars, NASCAR.
There were tangents. You had tangents in those.
Yeah, there's a lot
And
of
there's a certain
variables
amount of
that are
comfortability
constants
that
and
you
the
get
same.
into it as well, because you've been doing it so long. So getting in going to Dover for the 46th time wasn't a big deal to you.
Right.
But every time you strap into however many 15,000 horsepower things right below your crotch, right there. That's different every time, right? I mean, no two races or no two drags are probably ever the same.
No, and I think the biggest misconception, and I used to watch it religiously on TV. Once Austin Prock got in the sport, because we were buddies, and he ran his midget out of our shop, and so we would watch him, and especially qualifying. While we were loaded into a racetrack and unloading things, we had a TV at the back of the trailer, and we would watch. But I think the biggest misconception about it is that everybody thinks they fire them up, they do a burnout, they back up, somebody's backing them up, telling them where to go. They get stopped, they pre-stage, the engine guy gets up there and twists a couple knobs, they stage, and then off they go, and they just run straight down through there until you're around it and realize there's way more going on than that. And when you stand straight behind one of those cars, they never go exactly straight. If they go absolutely string straight, it's slow. So the fast runs are when they're moving around a little bit, because they're on the edge, and the tire's in a controlled slip all the way down the track. So it
you
just
never have
hooks
grip,
up one
ever.
to one.
That
The clutch
that
does.
aerial of watching a Top Fuel or funny car, and to your point, watching it go back and forth. I was talking before you came in. Clay Milliken's a good friend of mine, and Clay was talking about the worst experience of all is the tire shake. When the tire, he said that's when you hit the G's that no human body's meant to get. Have you had that yet?
I had it in the alcohol car, but not to the severity that some of the nitro cars do. It is. It beats the brakes off of you. I mean, I've literally had a run. I had multiple runs this year where it shook in qualifying or race runs, and literally have a headache for 3 or 4 hours afterwards.
Now,
And
is a tire shake worse at the beginning, or as you've built up, 230 miles an hour and you get one towards the half track or 3/4 track? Is a tire shake more violent to you as your body early on or later on, or is it all just the same?
most of the time, if it shakes really early, you're just going to abort the run,
Right?
Because trying to pedal it that early isn't going to get you there. And I can only speak of the experience from the alcohol car. Normally around 1.5 to 2.1 seconds into the run, which the run's a 5.2 second run to the quarter mile. So well before half track, probably a third of the way down the run, it was the trouble spot for us. When it shakes there, it shakes hard, but you have a chance to recover from it and not have to abort the run necessarily. So it's it's those, we talk about in racing, whether it was Cup or sprint cars, late models, whatever, you talk about making split-second decisions. Now take that split-second decision and make a split-second decision on that split-second decision. That's what you have to do in drag racing, and that's the part that absolutely blows my mind about it. There's so many things that happen in a run that is less than 4 seconds long, and to be able to sit there and analyze when it starts to shake the tires, sometimes it's a weak enough shake that you can drive through it, but you have to be able to make that decision in your mind and make your foot do what it needs, whether it needs to do nothing but just stay on the gas, or whether you, in those cars, the alcohol car, we would call it a slap, where you get out of it and right back in. You had to make those decisions so fast and know what you could or couldn't do and what you could get away with. That's one of the things that impresses me about it.
Have you ever come done with a run and then Mama Stewart told Mrs. Stewart, Leah, love her, told you where you messed up at and where you could have done better at? Because, she obviously is very good at this.
That's love.
True love.
That's love.
You guys are maybe making love, and she's like, hey, I just want to let you know you should have
It's not where I was going with that.
She's never brought that up.
That was not where I was going with that.
Never when I climbed into bed has she ever said that.
I do love the thought of that happening in the next week, though, and you're like, that damn Bubba. He spoke it into existence. He spoke it into existence.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say if she brings that up after we've climbed in bed, I really screwed that run up.
Yeah.
So
you might have walled it on that deal for her to be bringing that up.
When you pull that chute, we were talking before you got here too. What is it like when that chute grabs you?
Thank God I'm over it.
Relief.
Thank God I lived.
And it was funny because when we were building the team, the winter before our first season 2 years ago, I was talking to a sprint car guy that came to the shop and wanted to see what was going on. And I didn't see Leah's crew chief walking behind me at the time. And they asked me, they said, what's it feel like when the chutes come out? And they wanted to know physically what did it feel like. And I didn't miss a beat. And I said, relief. And the crew chief dropped what he had in his hands, and he was doubled over laughing. He goes, I've been in drag racing 20 years, and I've never heard anybody say that.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, it's great to run over 300 miles an hour. It's even more impressive to know you're going to stop before you run through the sand, before you go through the ski net, before you cross over the interstate and try not to T-bone a semi.
Speaking of 300 mile an hour, a lot of people don't realize that. I don't know if it's official or not, Tony, but I think and I know that you've told me before, but I think you in the Menards car at Indy, weren't you clocked at one time at like 246 down the back?
Wow.
No, 250 coming in turn 3.
There we go. Now talk about sketch. I know what you do with the top fuel and with your dragster and your top alcohol and all that kind of stuff, but 250 going into 3 has got to be up there in the top 5 sketch. It's got to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but the crazy thing was that was in my last phase of rookie orientation, so I hadn't even been cleared to compete for the Indy 500 yet. And your the last 10 lap run you make is whatever speed you want to run. You just got to be relatively consistent and smooth doing it. And I remember Larry Curry sending me out for that, and he just smiled and he goes, go have fun. I'm like, okay.
Whatever that is.
Yeah, whatever I don't know what this is going to be, but maybe it's going to be fun.
250.
And I'm telling you, the USAC officials, when we came in from that run, and that lap average was 237 mile an hour was the average.
Which I don't think they've touched, have they?
They have not beat that yet.
No, they've not touched.
There's speculation this year's Indy 500 might be the year that Ari Leyendijk's 238 gets broke.
Right.
But yeah, that was the crazy thing about that run is once I got to about 233, 234, the faster it went, the better it felt.
The more it sucked down.
Yeah, it just kept making downforce, and you could just feel the car down in the racetrack and felt like it just kept gaining more and more grip. But yeah, it was crazy. I remember telling somebody after the run, they said, what was that like?
What did AJ say? Because that's your boy, and AJ had to see that.
I don't remember talking to him about it, to be honest.
Right.
I honestly don't. But I do remember a reporter asked me after the run, they said, what was that like? I said, well, that was better than sex.
Yeah.
And at the time, I mean, at that age,
with the
was.
people you might have been having sex with at the time, you might be right.
It's funny you mentioned that, Tony, because before you came in, Bubba and I were trying to describe to anybody that's never been to an NHRA event what it's like. And I always say when that first pair of top fuel cars pull up, And when they drop the hammer and that Christmas tree goes green, the only thing you compare it to is good sex. When they go by you, I can't imagine being in there, but when they go by, everything inside you moves.
Yeah.
There's no sensation like that.
My favorite thing is to take somebody who's never been, who has no idea, like they've seen it on TV, they know that it's violent, they know that it's fast, but you get them right there on the starting line, and it literally, it depletes oxygen somewhat, and your eyes will start burning, and it freaks you out. You're like, there's a human being in that controlled chaos. I can't fathom or wrap my arms around the fact that there's a human being in there doing this.
That is literally the hardest thing when people say, what is it like to be at an NHRA race? And it is one of the hardest things to describe, I feel like.
You can't.
It's almost virtually impossible. Ben's point was spot on. I mean, I remember one of the first couple runs I went and watched, feeling my insides moving around.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not normal. No. And literally felt car sick afterwards.
Yes.
And I'm like,
you didn't even drive.
Didn't even move. Didn't even go anywhere.
And now you're getting in these things, Tony. You know what, Tony? There's something
way
wrong
better
with you.
inside.
Now
Tony,
you're getting...
It's way
Tony,
better
there's
on the
something
inside.
wrong with you, man. We got to have you analyzed for real.
That's why I'm driving a dragster, a top fuel dragster versus a funny car.
Fair.
Right. If that thing blows up, it's behind me. I'm going away from it.
Here's the $1 million question. Would you ever... They still have the Top Fuel bikes, right?
No, I'll answer the question for you.
Certified insane. Would you get on one of those?
No, I wouldn't even sit on it.
Anything they've got to
pit.
glue you to, I don't think you should be on.
No,
Anything
Tony's
that
not
you have
getting
to
in
wear
that.
a steel plate, a titanium plate on your chest,
Oh.
in case it throws a push rod through.
You know what
it doesn't go through your chest.
You know what I'd love to see, how if you could still do it or not. I'd love to see if for you to get in a 410 non-wing. I'd love to see how good you'd do there.
Probably not very good. It's been a long
You don't
time
think
since
so?
I ran without a wing.
You were good as fuck at that, though. You were good as hell.
Back in the day when I had to have that win to pay rent.
Yeah, in order to eat McDonald's.
Yeah, yeah, and to keep the lights and the gas on, the water bill.
Earlier today, we were talking about Sumo was in here, and we were talking about Mojo the monkey, and how he had to choke out Mojo and show him who was alpha back during your Mojo the monkey days.
Listen,
that guy was a little.
We
he
need
was a
to
little
check
shit.
the tape. We need to check the video on that because I'm pretty sure best out of 3, Mojo won 2 out of the 3.
Oh, Sumo said, "I'll tell you about that damn monkey. You choke it out, let it show you who its alpha is, and then about 3 weeks later, it forget that you choked it out. It bites you right in the back of the neck. And then sometimes Bob would be flying the plane. That damn monkey would go up there and start flipping buttons and stuff. I mean, turn the motors off and everything. And I mean, Tony would be sleeping, not knowing what's going on. This damn monkey had to go.
He was notorious for running up to the cockpit up the front, and there were all these plastic covers over the thrust reversers, which he couldn't flip them up, but he liked those, and it was like chewing gum to him.
Oh, God.
He would steal both of them, throw them in his mouth, and then come run back on my lap, and he'd sit there and just chew on them the whole rest of the flight.
Right, Sumo goes, one time Gooch had to show him the good news one time in the trailer, in the hauler, and Gooch told me that if you don't establish alpha with him, he'll just bite the hell out of you. He was a mean old little monkey, wasn't he?
Well, when he went through puberty, that's kind of when they figure out where they fit on the totem pole and where they fit in to the pack. And
that was time to go at that point.
Well, it was a daily deal with him and I. Like you'd get home from the shop and you'd come in the kitchen, you'd put your keys in this little basket that we had. And the next thing you knew, you got bit in the back, and you'd turn around, and you couldn't even see him. He had already bit and ran out of the room.
And then you could never catch him.
Oh no shot. So I would always just trick him.
And
But
to be
then-
clear, he was what was he? What
He was a
Paddis monkey,
So how much does this thing weigh?
35 pounds.
Just enough to really create some problems.
And
Well,
canine
when he was-
teeth about an inch and a half
man.
long.
Now, hold on. Sumo said when he was a little feller, he'd be okay. But
Yeah.
when he started getting up there in the 20, 25-pound range is when Tony had to start making other arrangements.
Yeah, when he started graduating weight classes, his ego went with it. So
So where does he go? God rest his soul.
I think he went to,
or-
he went to Louisville and then like had like 35 sons, and then like Tony's gonna do, and then he went down to now he's in Houston, right?
What a stud.
he's down
What
in
a
Houston.
stud.
Got a girlfriend, a mother-in-law, the whole deal.
He's got just
Literally
like his dad,
has
just
a
like
girlfriend there and has a mother-in-law.
just
No
like his
joke.
dad.
I think maybe his situation went worse, Tony. He was bacheloring it up with you, and now he's locked down with a mother-in-law and a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Common
He was
law
just-
marriage.
Hey, he was living his life. He is Tony Stewart monkey. If you were a monkey, you would be a mean monkey too. You'd bite people in the back of the neck and go away. You know you would.
I think we all would. Us small people, we have to fight dirty.
I remember Tony used to do the brake cleaner gimmick, and I remember one time he did it to Kenny Wallace, and Kenny Wallace was crying like a little baby. Remember that? Kenny was like, "Oh, I'm on fire! I'm on fire! I'm
I
on
used
fire!"
to get a lot of people with that trick. So we would take a can of brake clean with the straw, and take a tire torch, that they would scrape the tires with, and you get bored at test sessions and stuff. So you get a guy that wasn't paying attention and
some green guy
hit the torch and then hit the brake clean at the same time, and big ball of fire, and scare the crap out of him. Booty Barker, who is a great crew chief in the Cup Series, has been paralyzed for I don't know how many years, and I did it to him one day, but I did it a little different. I shot it underneath the chair from the back, and it came up between his legs, and I'm like, Booty was hopping on his hands on top of the wheels
Tony got
of his
Booty to
wheelchair.
walk.
I was going to say, you cured paralysis.
Booty's walking now.
Tony cured paralysis.
So, we had a blast. We used to mess with people left and right. My car chief, I remember we were testing at Martinsville, and he was underneath the front of the car, and literally the very front edge of the car was where his belt was.
Is Shapiro?
No, this was Jeff Mendring.
Okay.
So I remember giving him like a second pre-soak with the brake clean right on the crotch.
Oh no!
And then I hit the torch.
Well, Tony was a mother effer, man. You don't understand.
But what everybody doesn't understand, it's not like it's going to burn you, because it's not. It's just burning the
You
fluid.
don't know it in that moment,
Right.
though. In that moment, you don't know.
And you don't know what's going on.
In the moment, you feel like you're at a Kiss concert. The pyro went bad.
Well, the best part though is literally you hit the torch and it lit his crotch on fire, and he's smacking himself right in the nuts
Tony.
to put the fire out. I couldn't stop laughing for an hour.
That was the gift that kept on giving. That was you didn't anticipate that.
Yeah, I had to watch my back for about the next 4 events.
I can see why you and Bubba were tight. It's all making a lot of sense.
Because we're always
it's all
causing
making
trouble.
a lot of sense now.
He's a little bit more corporate than me, but we do compliment each other nicely when it comes to getting in trouble. Speaking of which, let's talk a little bit about what Tony's got going on this weekend. And I think the races start, tomorrow.
No, Bradenton, Florida. We got the pro event this weekend. The races on Saturday. They start qualifying on Thursday evening, and then 3 rounds of qualifying.
So
Friday.
if a guy was to go, he'd probably want to go Saturday. If a fella was to go,
Friday or Saturday or both,
or pick both, right?
The good news is when you buy your ticket, it's good for the whole weekend.
And people that have never been to a NHRA event, this is not sanctioned by NHRA. This is kind of a one-off, and they really it's unlike any other payday or any other pay per structure that I think it has ever been. I think it's the biggest ever, isn't it, Tony?
It is. It's the largest payout for Top Fuel, Funny Car, and Pro Stock.
They usually run for 50 to 75 grand, and they're running for 250. I mean, John Force, everybody, Ron Capps, Leah, they're all going to be there. I don't know of any superstar that's not going to be there, and most people can't believe that they're running for this much money. And it just goes to show you that if you not get enough good corporate sponsors and do it right, that you could. Now, Tony, do you guys plan on having maybe multiple of these, or is this always going to just be how you open up the year, or do you guys have plans for this thing?
Not necessarily. I mean, everybody does a lot of preseason testing, and we all come down to Florida. We used to go to West Palm. Now it's Gainesville primarily, but this was an opportunity to they start today. They're testing today, tomorrow, the first half of Thursday, and then, like I say, the first round of qualifying is Thursday night, and then 3 rounds on Friday, and then the races are all on Saturday.
Where can people go to get information on this?
It's a great question. I wish I had the answer to that.
Hold on. Tony Stewart.
You should know this stuff.
Well, yeah, Bubba, prep.
My
man.
job is to
Come
make
on,
sure
dude.
the cars, the teams, the drivers.
No.
But this is kind of
your job is to
Bubba.
give me a hell of an interview, and I'm interviewing you right now, buddy. So you
here's
need
the
to know
cool part for
you
me.
need to know your product.
Well, to me, it's a lot deeper than that. I think the reason I'm probably a little off on some of these areas is
not a little off in life. Sorry about that.
Really.
Thanks for coming in today, Tony. By the way, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having us. I appreciate it. Be glad to come to your show anytime.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, you're done, Bubba. He's on. He's on. As you call me, he's on the bitches show now. He's done with you.
He's done my show so many times. It's like, and by the way,
This is it.
he will. I guarantee you, he will acknowledge I'm the one that helped get him his Sirius XM show.
He did. Absolutely
I
did. He
blew
was directly the guy responsible for helping us get that show with Matt Yoakum.
And that's how he became such the media darling that he became, because he had so many hours behind the microphone. That's how I should get a lot more credit than I do. But
I think you give yourself a lot of credit, Bubba.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know how we can fill the cup any fuller than what it is there, Card.
It just runneth over.
So now I'm excited about the weekend because this is for a while. This is going to be Leah's last event. So she'll run the pro shootout this weekend in Bradenton. And then next week, I get a chance to finally get in the car and start testing at Gainesville for the Gator Nationals. So I'll get, if we're lucky and the weather cooperates, I'll get 5 days of testing, which, if everything goes right, will equate to about 20 runs before we start at the Gator Nationals March 7th.
And Ben, at the end of the day, you have a little onus in this, because I know you work for Flow, and you can go to Flow Racing, and it gives you all the information that you need to know about this 2024 Pro Superstar Shootout at Bradenton Motorsports Park. I just gave you the information, and it's going to be broadcast on Flow. So, Ben, screw you for not knowing your product
here's
as well.
the deal. I was going to mention that, but you wouldn't stop talking long enough for me to get a damn word in.
Oh,
so,
crap.
If you go to Flow Racing, all the details of look, you found it, Bubba. It's right there.
Yeah, jump on my tip now, bitch. I'm the one that had to do all the research on the deal.
You notice he's got like this alpha thing where he's set higher than we do. Have you noticed that too, Tony? Like we're down in the pit and he's sitting up high. That's not by accident.
Yeah, but here's the thing he doesn't understand. A lot of wars were won
in the trenches.
From the trenches,
That's
like
right.
this shooting up.
That's right.
Listen, I'm in the trenches more than you know. Tony's my friend, man. I've been in the trenches with that guy. Now, Ben, I don't know. You're on the not to be trusted list, but
rightfully so.
I got Tony's back, true and true. Ben, let's talk about the last race of the year at Eldora.
Yes, sir.
The Dirt Track World Championship.
Yep.
What a spectacular finish. I know Tony probably wasn't as happy with the track as listen, Tony not only
it rained 3 inches, man. I mean,
Tony Stewart not only has to worry about what his NASCAR team's doing, he has to worry about what his Nitro team's doing. He's got to worry about how the deers and the elk and the bears are doing at Hidden Hollow. He's got to worry about let's not forget his father, who's a world legendary a race car driver, Nelson Piquet. We got to make sure he's not flipping his ass off at some local track in Indiana. He's got to worry about Eldora and making sure that's going to be okay. And that was a very, very high profile race. And I thought Rob did as good as he could for the. It's lucky they even got the race in for as much rain as they did. And I think the rough track made that last lap even that much more special. Had it been a smooth track, I don't know that it would have been the spectacular showing that it ended up being.
Well, I mean, the thing is look, if you script it out back in January when you start and you go, it's going to go down to the last lap. Two guys going at it. You're like, sign me up right now. Now, to Tony, if he knew all the details, they were going to have to battle through Tony and Jonathan Bateman and Jerry Gappins. They'd be like, oh, don't sign us up for that. I mean, it just kept raining and it just kept being miserable. But, yeah, it was pretty dang good for that feature, and those guys worked for it. And, I just think everybody learns, right? And Lucas learned from that. Let's make it 7 races, not just one. But, damn it, if you're going to have one and it's going to go down to the last lap in a near photo finish, and, the guy that wins the race runs out of gas, there was a lot of storylines there.
There was.
And the thing that I noticed, and you probably, Tony, noticed from the Matt Yokums and all these different people, there were people that were really watching dirt racing that weekend that maybe hadn't watched in a while. And that was really cool, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if it weren't for how big that race was, we would have pulled a pin.
Yeah,
but
of course.
It's like, there's 4 drivers racing for a season championship. Yeah. It's like we have to do whatever we can do to get
lap,
it in.
Tony, down to the last, damn near last corner,
You couldn't have scripted that in Hollywood any better than what it was. Except for a 4-wide finish. But
yes,
to sit there in a 100-lap main event and you got 2 of the 4 drivers that are racing for the championship running first and second and come down to the last lap like that in a last lap pass. I mean,
is
it doesn't get any
Eldora
better
still your favorite investment?
Oh, yeah.
Has
no
to
doubt.
be. It has
No
to
doubt.
be.
Yeah, I'm always going to love that place.
Do you look around that place now, Tony, and go, holy hell,
this is
because,
mine.
the crowds keep getting bigger, and I don't know where the hell you're
He's
you're
rich
parking,
as
where you're
hell.
putting.
That bitch is so rich.
That's not what I'm going with. But just watching these crowds from the Million to the King's Royal to the World, and the dream crowds, like the Dream crowd now is up around what some of the World crowds used to be. Yeah. Does that blow your mind?
That's why
how
I
that
like
place
him.
keeps
He's so
getting more
rich.
popular? It's all about money for this guy.
Yeah, and one of the, this doesn't have anything to do with watching the races. The Eldora Ballroom, I mean, that's kind of where this all started with Earl back in the day.
Yeah.
We're doing big renovation inside the ballroom, and that's one of the many projects. You
the
constantly
turn 2
see us
suite that
doing
you
things
do.
and changing things and updating things. I've got a big plan after we get this ballroom done, and I mean it's going to be a cool place to hang out on race.
You can open up a drag strip over there?
No. But I'm looking at a whole new layout on front stretch bleachers and redoing that, and the concessions and restrooms, all that, ticket office, all that stuff. But
biggest dream wish for you, if you could snap your fingers, what would be the number one thing you'd like to do to Eldora right now as far as an improvement, enhancement, something, modernization? What's your number one thing on your list?
And I wish I would have explored this years ago when this man came to me. Ed Lynch Jr. came to me and he goes, "We can put a dome over this."
An
open side dome.
Yeah, kind of like some of the baseball parks have like a sail dome kind of deal.
Well, to where you can have a top over it,
right?
But the sides are open, so you're getting fresh air and open air blowing.
It's a SoFi Center like they got out in Los Angeles.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So at that time, he goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, what do you think it would take to do it?" He goes, "About $25 million." And I'm like, running sprint car late model races. I'm going to pay for a $25 million dome. If I'd have took that to Brett or Jared Freed, they would have lynched me.
Your pyro is going to take a hit with a dome, though. You're going to have a hard time with all the pyro you like. It's going to take a hit.
Still blow stuff
He's
up.
got the best pyro in the world. Who does your pyro department, Tony?
My good buddies from Memphis, Randy Bass.
Yep.
He lives in Memphis.
They need to be given an attaboy. Listen, I've been given the heads up that Tony's got to get going. He's got another appointment. Ben, I got to
go to work.
I got to wrap all this up.
This
but
whole work thing that we both have to do.
That's right. See, Bubba goes, "You guys don't do anything when you're not at the track." I'm like, the track's the easy part. It's all the other stuff you got to do.
Quit trying to put heat on me, bitch. I work harder than any of you guys. I actually do the track.
What's the most times you've ever called somebody a bitch in an hour and a half interview?
I use bitch as an exclamation point of endearment, okay? So shut up, bitch.
5. 1 for the thumb.
2024 Pro Superstar Shootout at Bradenton Motorsports. It's going to be available for you to watch on Flow Racing. Tony's wife, this is her last race. I'd love to see Leah win a Wally. That would be so awesome for her last race. She's taught Tony everything that she knew, and it's Tony's time to continue the torch. Tony's running full time. You'll probably start with the Gator Nationals, right, Tony? That'll be your first race.
Yeah, that's going to be my maiden voyage competing in Top Fuel. So it's and I'm excited about it. I mean, Gainesville's got such a rich history that it's a place that I couldn't think of a better place to have your first professional drag race than Gainesville. So I'm excited about it. I'm stoked. The 7th through the 10th is going to be an awesome weekend.
If you got a chance to make it out to Bradenton this weekend, it's Bradenton Motorsports Park. It's the Pro Shootout. It's sponsored by SCAG and a bunch of other great people, Tony as well. Ben, thank you so much for being a good sport. I only called you a bitch 5 times.
6.
Tony, love you.
That's 6. That counts. But if you hadn't called me at least 4, I would have been a total wasted day to come in here. So thank you for that.
Tony, love you, my friend, fellow Hoosier. I'm so proud of you and you just your progression of life and temperament and just everything. And I know that you're going to be a dad someday, and that's what you're working on. And I absolutely adore your wife. She's so cool. She actually gets me. I'm so excited for Gainesville and your new path in racing, which is something that you've never done. Well, you've done a year worth of alcohol, but now and that's not underscoring what you did, but this is the next level, is it not? This is the next level.
Most definitely.
And good luck to that, my friend.
Thank you. It's crazy. I'm going to be 53 in May, and I would be competing for Rookie of the Year this year in NHRA.
That's awesome, dude.
That'd be
awesome.
badass.
I love that. I love that so much.
So,
and you want to win it too.
Absolutely. I want to win everything.
You do.
Yes. It's going to be a learning process. This is something that these are no joke. I mean, these are cars that if you're not paying attention and you're not on top of your game, it gets dangerous and it gets expensive really quick if you make mistakes.
Well, the 50-50 at Eldora covered alone. I'm telling you that.
Yeah. Maybe I'll see if our foundation can sponsor our cars.
There you go. Anyway, listen, Tony Stewart in here today promoting the Bradenton Motorsports thing that's happening for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 2-day show.
Gator Nationals.
And then the Gator Nationals, which I'll be at, and I'm giving ticket giveaways for all that. East Bay with Ben this weekend on Flow. And of course, then Daytona. So a lot going on for race enthusiasts. Tony, Ben, I appreciate y'all. And I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Thanks.